the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 376, Small Games, Small Prizes. Why are you here? Zyarksha frowned, remembering that President Mio said last time that the owner of the Explosive Flame Pavilion did not accept the invitation. Come to see an old friend, the owner of the pavilion said with the vicissitudes of life. When Eminem heard this, he couldn't help but say, "Is it Boss Sakaki? I feel that you two are more compatible in terms of style of painting. Explosive Flames. No, I'm not familiar with him. I'm just a responsible gym owner." The leader of the Blast Flame Hall began to mutter. As for his other dutiful club owner friend, Eminem is actually a little worried, but thinking about the masters everywhere now, the Feng Shui Pavilion owner, even if he really wants to kill someone, he probably won't have a chance. It's just that the disappearance of Representative Iwamatsu is not related to him. The remaining victim, that is, the programmer, has been protected by the Special Operations Team because of the Flash Team, so there should be no problem. At this time, the ceremony had already begun, and Mio, wearing a black evening dress, came to the starring stage. Mio must have been preparing this poem for a long time. She started with a long speech, starting with the history of the Tokiwa family, from her great-grandfather's awakening of the power of Joban, to the care that Master Sakaki took of the Joban family in Joban City. After making the guests below all show polite smiles, Mio said, "It's still a while before the auspicious ribbon cutting time. Let's play a little game first." At this time, everyone was generally not interested in any small games, and continued to smile awkwardly but politely. But at this moment, the secretary Kainami pushed a small cart over. Although it was covered with red cloth, you could vaguely see 2 eggs underneath. Now many people are looking forward to it. This must be a Pokémon egg, right? Moreover, the Tokiman family has produced many breeders and now has many breeding houses. They should not be stingy when it comes to Pokémon eggs. They must be very rare Pokémon eggs, right? If the prize is a rare Pokémon egg, then everyone won't be sleepy. Mio lifted up the red cloth, revealing 2 eggs. The whole body has a grayish metallic color and is a structure surrounded by layers of ring-shaped armor plates, as if wrapped in bandages. The second one is overall white, with many scattered and disordered red and blue patterns on it. This is... Many people's eyes lit up. That's right. This is a Banguirus egg bred by our Joban breeding house. This is the TGP egg that our Joban group found in the wild. It has been successfully awakened. Just as this time the prizes for the minigame are ready. Facing everyone's surprise, Mio couldn't help but smile. The names of the 2 eggs are completely different. Bangulus is the final form, and Pokepi is the initial form. But it's not surprising to say this. After all, Bangurus is a quasi-divine beast in the Johto area, and everyone is more familiar with Bangurus. In comparison, the evolution of TGP is very difficult, even more difficult than that of quasi-divine beasts. It can be said to be a rare example of evolution. However, TGP is still a very popular Pokémon, no less than a quasi-mythical beast, not only because of its cute appearance, but more importantly, this kind of Pokémon that can have characteristics such as Giant Fur and Super Lucky generally have the ability to bring good luck to the trainer, so they are extremely popular. In addition, although the Togepas are not ancient fossil Pokémon themselves, they are always mixed with fossil Pokémon in the wild, and sometimes they find eggs that have lost their vitality due to the passage of time and cannot be hatched. At this time, some manual help is needed. Of course, the winner of the minigame can only take one of the eggs. On behalf of the Tokiwa group, I will entrust the competition committee of the Kanto Rookie Competition to donate the other egg to the winner. May after Zoo had whetted his appetite, he added another sentence. The dreamers present have already become entangled in advance. Eminem was just surprised by the Joban group's generosity, because after seeing this scene, Eminem remembered, in the original work, there seemed to be a similar scene at the ribbon cutting ceremony, and the prize was a Porsche sports car. In terms of value, rare Pokémon eggs are indeed basically equivalent to luxury cars. Kit, do you need a TGP? Puff, puff. Puff. The owner of the explosive flame hall mocked maliciously from the side. Slim Shady. But this is true. But if Eminem really wins, I guess he will still choose the Bangerous egg point. Although Bangerous does not have the ground attribute, Rock plus Evil is a good match for Eminem. Evil is also Eminem's close attribute, and Rock is also a close attribute. The evolution of the ground system, more importantly, before evolving into Bangerous, Youngulus and Shagerus both have the attributes of rock plus ground. That is to say, Eminem's form in the first two stages, the training speed will be very fast. For others, training a quasi-divine beast to level 55 and evolving it to its final form within half a year is an almost impossible task. It is also a challenge for so-called genius newcomers. But for Eminem, there is no challenge. If Eminem concentrates on training, 3 months is enough point in comparison. Although Pokemon is not bad, it not only has the ability to bring luck, but also has the high bond required to evolve into Pokemon. For Eminem, he can also rely on animal senses. After reaching the final form of Pocus, he is also a fighting expert. However, for Eminem, the attraction is still slightly less than that of Bangerous. Well, some dreamers are already wondering what they should choose. This little game is very simple. In order to commemorate my great-grandfather, it has been 120 years since the first job and nursery was opened. Let us count silently for 120 seconds. The person closest to us will receive a gift. If there is more than one tie, then please use guessing to determine the winner, and the loser will also receive other gifts. Mio said this somewhat childish rule at this time point. At the same time, there were already waiters in the crowd, taking away the watches of those who wanted to participate, and also wearing watches, and giving everyone a button, which should be used instead of raising hands. Although you can tell the time in picture books and mobile phones, I believe no one wants to cheat in public. If it is just a watch, even if you don't look at it, you can inevitably feel its beating. Eminem noticed that, even though Dr. Prodigy was wearing a watch, he waved his hand to the waiter, obviously not planning to participate at all. He was indeed a boss. Now, let's start. Following Mio's words, the hall switched to dark lights, and the surroundings became silent. Zyarksha and Yuanzi, who are next to Eminem, are also counting carefully. Zyarksha must like to GP, right? As for Sonoko, Eminem originally thought that, even though she was a rock type, she wouldn't be interested in Bangerous who weren't cute enough. Could it be that he also likes to GP? Ahem. It's not like I can't do to GP or something. As soon as the leader of the explosion hall stepped forward to speak, he was stepped on by Zyarksha. At the same time, Zyarksha also covered her ears tightly, as if she didn't want to be interfering. Eminem wanted the prize very much, but at this moment he was very relaxed because the old card is very powerful in counting seconds. This is an absolute view of time honed over countless years. Chapter 377 Awakening Slap. Dense fog. Time's up. Mio announced at this time point. At the same time, the lights turned on, and behind her, the list was displayed. Most people looked surprised at this time point. Most of them are surprised. Why did the time just come? And the other half are surprised why is the time already here. When most people count silently, the seconds count faster, especially if they are counting their heart rate. Faster and faster. Because of tension. Only a handful of people looked at the screen expectantly, and they didn't press the button too early or too late. However, at this time, I only saw one number with an error of only 0.03, firmly occupying the C position, and the others were at least 2 seconds earlier or later. No. 69, which distinguished guest is number 69. At Mio's call, Amu raised the button on his hand. It's our Eminem contestant. Come up and choose one first. Maybe you can get both eggs later. Mio immediately said congratulations after recognizing Eminem. Thank you to President Mio and the Joban Group. The Joban Chain Training House is like my friend who has accompanied me since childhood. Eminem came on stage and said a lot of polite words that he didn't believe, and then chose the Bangerous egg. The egg feels hard, more like a stone in texture, but its temperature has a metallic coldness. It seems that Eminem doesn't care much about his luck. So I hope you can get this to GP egg left. Mio teased. Ha ha ha. The audience burst into laughter. Slim Shady, although not all the guests present paid attention to the rookie competition. Most of them knew this interesting fact. After all, they had drawn the top seed twice in a row in one day. Hey, how is it possible to get it? I think my daughter can get it. The owner of the explosive flame pavilion said unhappily at this time. Hey. Zylaksha whispered to remind her father not to be embarrassed. At this time, she could understand Zylan's mood. Okay, keep a low profile and be humble. The leader of the pavilion said kindly. The people around who heard it all laughed at this, but no one refuted this old boy. But, to Jeep's egg, where did the Joban group find it? Could it be that there is a newly discovered fossil pit? Sonoko muttered in confusion at this time. Yuanzi still knows something about this. The Togepas are very rare Pokémon. They are not only rare, but also difficult to evolve in wild conditions. Among the only discoveries, most were Tajeepa's eggs, hatched after resuscitation treatment, and found together with the remains of fossil Pokémon. So when seeing Tajeepa, Sonoko's first reaction was, has the Joban group discovered a new fossil pit? Naturally, no one has an answer to this question now, but when Eminem came off the stage with the egg in his arms, he noticed that the owner of the Feng Shui Hall had a very ugly look on his face when he saw the Tajeepa egg being pushed down by Chinami. Of course, Eminem didn't dare to say whether it was a preconceived illusion. In short, he was indeed staring at the egg. As for his face, the master of Feng Shui Hall always had a straight face. After leaving the field, Eminem first put away the eggs. Eggs can also be put into Pokeballs, provided that they have sufficient vitality. Just carrying it with you can allow the unborn Pokémon to become familiar with the trainer's aura, and it will have a higher affinity after hatching, so it is generally recommended to carry it with you. Like the Polygon egg. Eminem always carries it with him, because it's just a USB flash drive, and doesn't take up much space. As for the Bandulas eggs, Eminem can only put them away first, and then take them out for plate when nothing happens. After having a little game to cheer up, Mio continued to talk non-stop. Now she was mainly talking about the Joban group and its subsequent layout in Quartz City. She seemed to be focusing on the development of Quartz City. Speaking of it now, it can be regarded as seeking cooperation in various related fields. Then it was finally time to cut the ribbon. Mio went down to make the final preparations for cutting the ribbon. The host was replaced, and the main guests were introduced to the stage. Sonoko, who attended on behalf of the Suzuki group, was not the focus of the introduction, but she was also mentioned at this time. After all, Sonoko is still young, and has never dealt with such situations alone before. Although she is usually very carefree, she seems very nervous when things happen. Yuanzi, should you go to the stage to get ready? Xiaolan reminded from the side. Well, there are so many people, we won't be discovered if we don't go up. Yuanzi said uneasily. How is that possible? Come on, you are just a representative, just stand by. Xiaolan quickly urged Yuanzi to come up. At this time, Yuanzi gritted his teeth and pulled Damu along. The doctor from Mom's classroom is also an important guest, right? Let's go up together. Without waiting for anything to say, Amu was already pulled up by Yuanzi. Baoan stared at this scene with a very bossy smile on his face, and then whispered something in Zylaksha's ear to Zylaksha, who was also secretly watching this scene. At first glance, he was slandering don't talk nonsense. Zylaksha immediately turned her head and said Eminem was not mentioned, but he managed to sneak in. Fortunately, there were indeed many people behind the curtain next to the stage, and, like Dr. Oki and Boss Sakaki, Eminem also knew them. In addition, Yuanzi kept dragging Amu, so no one asked, what are you doing here? Seeing Boss Sakaki, Eminem came over and asked in a low voice, Boss Sakaki, boss, have your men checked the area? Are there any suspicious explosives? Sakaki had an expression on his face that said, what do you mean? Come on, you're going to chase me, right? The bad draw was, because you were unlucky, who are you with? And it felt like Eminem was teasing him. Next, we have our world-class master of painting, the treasure of the Quartz Alliance, and President Mio's teacher, Mr. Kisaragi Hosu. The host introduced, while also raising his hand back. Suddenly the lights turned on, and a huge ink painting appeared. This is Mr. Kisaragi Hosu's ribbon cutting gift to the Tokiwa Twin Towers, Silver Mountain in early spring. Eminem also quickly looked over from the side of the stage. Fortunately, there is no corpse hanging in front of the painting. It's inevitable when you think about it. With so many big guys present, no one can kill people silently. But at this moment, Eminem suddenly felt a silence around him, and Eminem himself was in a trance for a while, and then woke up. Be careful, hypnosis. Leoka's consciousness was directly transmitted to Eminem's heart. Hypnosis. Eminem felt a chill in his heart. How can it be? Not to mention a veteran like Sakaki, there are many super nervous people present. How can he be hypnotized so easily? The next moment, Eminem suddenly realized that there was something wrong with Silver Mountain in early spring. Why is there such a big black hole up there? At the same time, a vague outline emerged from this black hole. Just seeing a little outline makes Eminem's heart tremble. Obviously, it's not that the bosses present are ineffective, but that the enemy is too scary. The reason why Eminem is sober is because Leoka is more terrifying. Even if you are not in the same dimension, you can prevent the effects of hypnosis. However, this is by no means an opponent that Eminem can handle. In this flash of lightning, Eminem thought of two ways. The first is to summon Leoka out and slap him indiscriminately, but with so many people here, I'm afraid Eminem decisively chose the second choice, raised his hand to Boss Sakaki next to him, and gave him a wake-up slap first. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 37 September 3. Alliance September 3rd. 2000, the day before the ribbon-cutting ceremony of the Tokiwa Twin Towers in Quartz City, in Fengshu's gym, a woman who calls herself Saki somehow learns the secret of Ruayu Fengshu, and uses it to seek cooperation. Who are you? I won't cooperate with people who hide their heads and show their tails, Mr. Fengshu. If you want to hide it, you have no other choice, right? Were Yansan captured by you? Faced with the question from the owner of Fengshu Pavilion, Saki just shook his head. You from Team Rocket? Or from Team Galaxy? A woman with a secret is a woman. In a corner of Quartz City, Masashi blocked Sachi who was carrying him alone. What exactly do you want to do? You're not just a member of Team Galaxy, are you? Of course, I'm still the three beast warriors of Team Rocket, right? Of course that's not what I'm talking about. Okay, you have your plan. Chiri has Chiri's plan. Can't I have my own plan? Very. But it's good that you know. Are you ready for the plan of the Santino? As long as you don't let go. In a bar in Quartz City, gin and vodka were drinking. Vodka was still whispering about the glorious deeds of his last customer who had already silenced him. Then he discovered that his eldest brother Jin was staring at the lead singer on the bar stage. She was a blonde woman with dark skin, a race common in the Unova and Alawa regions. Brother, it turns out you like this kind of thing. Vodka said with a wink. Of course, it was blocked by sunglasses at this moment. The bartender on the side came over and brought 2 cocktails and said, you too, this is the lead singer. Let me order martinis for you. Oh, big brother is really charming. After Vodka complimented Jin upright, he smiled unceremoniously, but Jin threw the cigarette but directly into the glass without buying it. Before Vodka could wonder, Jin had already angrily pressed the waiter's head onto the table. What are you doing? The moment he swung the ice pick down, the little brother had escaped, leaving only a mask, and turned into a young lady. Fortunately, the lights were dim and in the corner, and other people's attention was on the stage, so no one noticed this scene. Why is it still this stupid face? Jin said to Sachi's face without buying it. So you like my true appearance so much? Sachi teased Jin in a different voice than usual, and then Saki tore off another layer of the mask, and what was revealed this time was a beautiful face with aqua blue eyes and long blonde hair. The gorgeous and charming facial features do not reveal the viciousness of Sachi at all, and the long golden hair does not reveal the subtle hairline crisis of Sachi Belmont. Vodka was startled, and only then did he understand what happened. Looking at Martini again, Vodka suddenly realized that this old colleague was playing a trick. Martini is a cocktail made from gin and vermouth, absinthe. You Just show up here like this? If you are seen. Vodka quickly became alert point. Although Belmode has not appeared in large-scale competitions or programs recently, her social identity is Chris, but she is a well-known coordinator and actress. Generally speaking, coordinators are also actors and models. Such professions, don't worry, everyone's eyes are on the stage at this time. Belmode said, very relaxed and still tying up her hair. Jen also said from the side, don't worry about her, she will look away on her own. Well, Jen naturally understands that Belmode is not only good at disguise, but also good at using the surrounding environment to exert psychological suggestions on people and further strengthen his disguise ability. To a certain extent, his mental power already has some hypnosis. The nature of it is just not as strong as hypnosis of real Pokémon, but it is more skillful. It was this ability that made her the owner of a divine beast, a young Darkrai who had some kind of contract with Belmode. The relationship goes further than the following of ordinary mythical beasts. Although the Darkrai does not attack easily, it can do something for Belmode if it is prepared. How? Is the matter you were asked to investigate. Jin also showed his seniority to Belmode. Although he was far younger than Belmode. Belmode was not angry either, but he prevaricated. I caught some little tales. I still need to confirm. Since you have a clue, tell me first. Vodka said from the side. A woman is a woman who has secrets. Belmode didn't buy it. HMPH. Have you already arranged things for tomorrow? Jin also knew Belmode, and there was no point in asking more about things she didn't want to talk about. Don't worry, the other party has promised me to cooperate. Belmode said with a slight smile. Brother, are we really going to take action at that time? Vodka was a little hesitant at this time. He acted very bravely when faced with an unknown outcome. But now it is known that there will be a lot of people present who they cannot handle when the time comes. Belmode's Darkrai is only a descendant of a mythical beast and does not even have a true godhead. It is the weakest among the mythical beasts. Although it has an advantage against one or two great king level Pokémon, but if there are too many, they will be unstoppable. Pokémon. It only makes sense if it can be released. Belmode said with a slight smile. After a pause, Belmode also added, but those guys must have a way to deal with this kind of hypnosis. Even if they are caught off guard and they are all controlled, they can't attack them directly at that time. Otherwise we are about to face the siege of a group of heavenly kings and great heavenly kings. That's right. The cooperation that Belmode and the owner of Feng Shu Hall reached was to hide Darkrai in his paintings in advance. When all the attention of the audience is focused on the painting, they will be hypnotized. Even Dr. Oki and Boss Sakaki are not immune at this time, but for them, it is best not to be alarmed at this time. Otherwise not only will the Pokémon take the initiative to break away to protect the trainer under the condition of telepathy, but also, their Pokéballs must also be specially treated, really attack and kill them, or seriously injure them, and then face the Pokémon's revenge. Therefore, after hypnosis, just do what you should do immediately. What Jin had to do was to completely destroy the group system in the Joban building. Jiaming had previously used the group's system to invade the organization's database. Jiaming himself thought that he was just lazy and used something that was not allowed by the organization. Log in without noticing that the organization's system is abnormal. When they were silenced before, they were interrupted by Eminem, which prevented them from asking for the follow-up. Now they can only destroy all the carriers that may have stored the information, just to be on the safe side. At this moment, a small TV in the bar played a live broadcast of Eminem's victory over Badger. Several fans cheered and then sighed. When Jin saw Eminem's face on TV, he couldn't help but let out a loud snap. Belmode said with great interest, is this the kid who made you suffer so many times? Don't underestimate him. He is even more dangerous than that guy. Jin reminded him, even though he had a cold face. Oh, then I'd like to see. Belmode clearly didn't believe it. Chapter 379 Continuous Awakening. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Master Feng Shu's huge painting was displayed, and Darkrai had already cast Dark Hole on it, and no one noticed or prepared it beforehand. The moment everyone looked at the giant painting, Dark Hole activated, and at this moment, Darkrai also appeared in the hole. Dark Hole is the exclusive skill of Docre. In fact, humans know very little about the exclusive skills of these mythical beasts. What they know more about is the effect of the deteriorated version after imitation. Normally, it would be difficult for a Pokémon that can imitate to imitate the exclusive skills of a mythical beast, but among countless individuals, there will always be some special situations. At this time, humans can use the results of imitation to explore the deteriorated version of the exclusive skills of the mythical beast. The degraded version of Dark Hole is a hypnotic skill with a wide range and high success rate. If you imitate this, it will be really fun on the double battlefield. And now, although Belmod's Darkrai is only a descendant of the mythical beast, and not as powerful as the real nightmare god, it hypnotized the entire human race in an instant, making everyone stunned. Liv, you can still do it. The next thing to do is to finish what needs to be done quickly without disturbing anyone. But just when Belmod just breathed a sigh of relief, everyone, wake up. Suddenly, a little boy shouted in the crowd. Belmod. Belmod also didn't understand why the child was not hypnotized. Fortunately, he didn't seem to realize that this was not a problem that could be solved by shouting. Although he released a dream demon at this time, Darkrai hypnotized it in an instant and he didn't have time to do so. Wake others up. But at this moment, snapped, there was a crisp sound, and next to the stage, I saw Boss Sakaki's big buttocks being rounded by Eminem, and he was whipped like an Oscar host. Then I saw Sakaki's expression changing from surprised, to confused, to stunned, changing in one breath. Moreover, just when he changed to confused, he had already released all, no, 5 Pokémon, even if he didn't realize what was happening at this time. Nidoking, Nidoqueen, Marsupial, Gyarados, and his trump card, the Styro Bee. Although he is the leader of a ground-type gym, Sakaki's Pokémon are not limited to ground-type Pokémon. At the same time, his rich combat experience allowed him to instinctively release the accompanying Pokémon, while he was still confused. As for one missing, Amu guessed he might be hatching eggs. My own people, deal with that Darkrai first, Eminem said quickly to the Big Needle, pointed at his Big Needle Bee. Obviously, Big Needle Bee has already determined who Sakaki was forced to do just now. Sakaki immediately reacted. I saw the keystone on his tie clip flashing with a strange light at this moment. At the same time, his old partner Needle Bee, as well as Gyarados and Marsupial, suddenly appeared on their bodies. At the same time, the brilliance of evolution bloomed. The Mega Needle Bee instantly transformed into a more ferocious and sharp-looking Mega Needle Bee. As for the Mega Gyarados, Eminem had seen it before, when he faced Kid. At first glance, the Mega Gyarados didn't look much different from its original appearance, except that it had armor-like lumps on its body. But, the little marsupial grew up a lot at this time, and came out of the bag, looking like it was about to fight. At the same time, Nidoking and Nidoqueen, vaguely cooperating, attacked Darkrai from left to right. Who is Sakaki? 800 eyes. After a simple judgment, he knew that the trainer of Darkrai was Thatch. Note 1. Although it was stated that Thatch had other identities, Sakaki understood that the current identity of Thatch as the 3 Rocket Beast Warriors was truly revealed. In addition, he also knew Sachi, and knew that, when she drove Darkrai, she must be asleep and unable to use other Pokémon, so Sakaki decided to deal with Darkrai personally, without waking up others immediately. Use this to reduce the negative impact of this matter on yourself. But bang bang bang. At this time, Eminem found another gym owner, and was using Awakening Slap. Well, after all, Eminem is not a Pokémon, so of course it was just called Awakening Slap. Sakaki woke up as soon as he was slapped. This was because he was in an excellent mental state, or extremely alert, and was not hypnotized deeply in the first place. As for the owner, Eminem whipped him 3 times before waking him up. For the sake of combat effectiveness, of course Eminem awakened one of the most powerful gym owners in Kanto, Hanamaru, gym leader of Rainbow City. This is entirely due to her trust in her strength as one of the 8 gym leaders, and not because she leads the way when explaining the game. After all, Baoan, who was, once, one of the 8 major hall owners, did not want to participate in the official ribbon cutting, and was still off the court at this time. The distance was too far. As for the stronger King, this come on, tell me, who would go to get it at this time? What are you doing? Hanamaru looked at Eminem in shock and was about to give him the fourth wake up slap. Master Hanamaru, hurry, release the Pokémon to protect everyone, Eminem said righteously quickly. Oh. Hanamaru was also in confusion at this time, and he did it without reacting for a while. This also shows the difference in combat experience. Hanamaru should be one of the few trainers at the same level with the least actual combat experience. After all, her deputy jobs are pharmacist and aromatherapist, and she usually pays attention to her appearance and rarely goes to the wild, let alone wild fights. Of course Hanamaru had no other thoughts. After releasing the Pokémon, he immediately ordered them to wake up the others. Apart from the super type, the grass type was the most professional in this regard. The pollen was scattered all over the place, and everyone in the place sneezed and woke up. At the same time, Eminem took the time to turn his head and saw that under the cover of other companions, the 5-spiked Mega Needle Bee was stabbing Darkrai randomly. With its 5 spikes, the latter let out a cry of pain, then turned around and disappeared into the black hole, as if disappearing into a dream. Before leaving, he stared at Sakaki in front of him with scalded eyes, and then seemed to be looking for something, but Eminem was blocked behind Hanamaru, hiding, and did not take a closer look. Discovered, Mega Needle Bee is not an ordinary random attack, but Sakaki's famous special skill, Lightning 5 continuous slashes, essentially a fusion of Chaos Attack and Continuous Slash. One skill can be used 5 times. For the effect of continuous slashing, the spikes on the feet are equivalent to 2 shots of 40 power, the spikes on the hands are equivalent to 2 shots of 80 power, and the main spike on the tail is equivalent to 160 power. Among the awakening skills, it is also a very deep awakening, almost at the peak level among trainers. However, Sakaki did not pursue it at this time, because Darkrai is not easy to mess with either. Even in such a short time, the marsupial has been beaten back to its original shape. If the fight continues here, the casualties will probably be considerable, and at this time there was an explosion in the building. It is obviously not a good time to deal with the traitor. Note 1. There is indeed Darkrai in the comic version of Thatch, and he is indeed Team Galaxy's spy on Team Rocket. Here, Belmode's character is combined and set as a multifaceted spy. Chapter 380 Evacuation. As soon as everyone woke up sneezing, they heard bursts of explosions, and then the ground shook, and the surroundings became completely dark. At this moment, the Junshus who had been waiting outside the venue for a long time, because of the threatening letter and Iwamatsu's disappearance, rushed in when they heard the sound, and it was Yumi who took the lead. No. The power distribution room and emergency power supply room have all been attacked. The security guard at the scene immediately realized what had happened. Where's the backup elevator? Yumi asked quickly. The backup elevator has its own power generation device and should still be usable. The security guard replied immediately. Generally speaking, you should not take the elevator in the event of a fire explosion, but this kind of elevator with an independent power supply outside the main body of the building can actually be used for escape. Sakaki immediately commanded guests with power generating Pokémon release their Pokémon to power the elevator. Elderly people and children who do not have protected Pokémon evacuate from the elevator one by one. Others, those with flying Pokémon, release them all and evacuate on Pokémon from high altitude. Nidoking waved his hand at this moment, and the invisible fluctuations shattered all the surrounding floor-to-ceiling windows. Even if the Joban group was originally protected by Sakaki, Mio naturally agreed with Sakaki's command at this time. Yumi glanced at building B opposite and found that there didn't seem to be an attack there, so she added, send the people to the opposite side first. I saw that many guests also released large flying Pokémon at this time, as well as some small electric Pokémon. If you want to power a generator, you need to be small, but if you want to fly people, you need to be small. Just make it bigger. Wait. I'm only 52 years old. Dr. Ali shook off the person who was trying to push him into the elevator. As for Dr. Oak, although he is not young, he is not an unprotected Pokémon. Soon the first batch of people evacuating the elevator was filled up. Sakaki specially winked at a man with short blue hair. At this time, He forcibly stopped the outer door of the elevator from closing and stood in the elevator for a moment. After descending, jumped to the roof of the elevator. Obviously he is also a combat officer of Team Rocket, and he is protecting the safety of the elevator outside. Point on the other side, large flying Pokémon such as Big Bird, Fossil Pterosaur, etc. are sending young people who have no power to protect themselves to block BN batches. Go to the roof of the building. Point someone like Eminem who can protect himself is not in a hurry to leave at this time. You go down too. Sakaki glanced at Eminem and said with disgust, Amu was stunned when he heard this drive. Omu also said at this time, yes, you will go down in the next batch. He was talking about Eminem, Zylaksha and others. Obviously, the level of the semi-finals of the rookie competition is not enough to protect oneself, unless Eminem brings out the old card. Those who really want to stay and are ready to find and kill the troublesome bastards are at least the official gym leader level combatants, as well as Junsha who has come. Of course they will also stay, and Yumi has also contacted through the walkie-talkie. Junsha from the headquarters is also surrounded downstairs, and they are ready to close the door and beat the dog. Although the explosion just now was quite powerful, it mainly destroyed some function rooms. It was still too early to blow up the building. This kind of building will not collapse after a few explosions. After a while, Sakaki and others were going to go down directly to see if they could hold down a few. In comparison, Eminem's new talents are not strong enough. Eminem really wants to say that he can protect himself completely, and if everyone is hypnotized again, he can also provide awakening slaps. But, seeing that everyone has released their Pokémon, it seems that there is no need for this. Seeing Dr. Romu say the same thing, Eminem followed suit. At the same time, he also felt in his heart that he should really find a flying Pokémon, but now we still have to rub Yumi's Big Bird. In order to save time, Eminem and Zylaksha sat on it. At this time, the leader of the explosion hall glanced at Eminem and said nothing. As for Conan, he had been taken away by Zyalon. At this time, together with Yuanzi, the three of them were riding a big build bird. In terms of weight, these three people were actually about the same as Eminem plus Zylaksha. As for Zyo AI, she had already left the elevator with normal children. President Mio was also among the last to evacuate. Apparently, she was only as good at Pokémon training as she was the head of the business side of the job and group. Generally speaking, a scheming person. The bond with Pokémon is generally not strong, and Mio is obviously not an exception among the few. The reason why she stayed until now was because she was the host and could not evacuate before the guests. But at this moment, Jin, who was preparing to retreat downstairs, saw the garden in the sky. Garden per .jpg. Jin. What kind of gift from God is this? Jin never expected that he would meet Shirley here. If it wasn't a very special situation, Jin would have given priority to evacuating at this time. If he was pinned down, he would be in trouble today. As for the bastard Belmode who was not doing things well, he must have sneaked out through disguise plus psychological suggestion. But Shari is a special situation for Jin, because the body of Shirley had not been seen before, and an unnamed bouquet of flowers was found in Mingmo's place. Jin suspected that Shirley was still alive. There is no logical evidence, just Jin's intuition. Now he suddenly saw that Shirley was also present, and Jin decided to be reckless. On the other hand, after all the Zions and others had evacuated, Sakaki and others also looked at Feng Shui. Because there were too many people present, they were worried that he would resist and cause casualties, so everyone tacitly agreed not to mention this matter. In fact, Darkrai came out of his painting. How could he not be suspicious of him? Brother Feng Shui, you won't cooperate with the three beast warriors of Team Rocket, right? Baoyan asked in disappointment. After touching his short hair, Sachi is a member of Team Galaxy. Sakaki emphasized point, although he had just doubted it before. Now in front of everyone, he was very sure. Feng Shui didn't expect that Saki would cause such a big deal, but now Feng Shui looked at Mio who was still in the air out of the corner of his eye. As we all know, rock type restrains flying, but at this moment, Baoyan on the side punched his face. Brother Feng Shui, what else do you want to do? Just because of a fossil pit? Many people looked at Baoyan at this time. It was obviously the first time they heard about the fossil pit. Feng Shui also said excitedly at this time, "That's not a fossil pit. It's..." He hesitated at first, but seeing that he could no longer keep it a secret, he said, "It is a natural refuge valley, and there are many ancient Pokémon living in it. It is best for them not to be disturbed." But that guy Mio actually peeked at my painting, discovered the secret, and even encouraged the Tokiwa group to come and develop it first. Chapter 381 Mysterious Valley. The leader of the explosive flame pavilion has become too small this time. I originally thought that some rare fossil pit was discovered, so brother Feng Shui fell out with Mio. Unexpectedly, it was actually because of a bigger discovery, a living fossil pit. In his early years, Feng Shui discovered a magical valley in Baiyun Mountain. Note 1. There are living and wild fossil Pokémon everywhere inside. Because fossil Pokémon basically have rock-type attributes, Feng Shui can feel their status. There is no general fossil Pokémon that is at a loss and irritable after resurrection. The fossil Pokémon living here are as leisurely as if they were still living in their own era. So although this is a great discovery of a century, its value is far more than just how many rare Pokémon. But the existence of this valley has fundamentally changed the existing conclusions about the existence of fossil Pokémon. But Feng Shui is still unwilling to be discovered here. This valley can only be reached through a cave. Feng Shui also entered by mistake. Even if he flew in from the air, he would be confused by the fog that persists all year round. Therefore, as long as Feng Shui didn't tell anyone, it would be difficult for others to find him. Feng Shui had always kept the secret and only visited it occasionally, but when he was feeling unbearable, Feng Shui had painted the scene in the valley and some scenery on the road. Unexpectedly, Mio, a student on the painting path, saw these. Mio was a scheming person and was originally inconspicuous in the Tokiwa family. She came to learn painting just to connect with the owner of the Feng Shui Hall. After she discovered these paintings, although Minasu denied it, he was really not good at lying, and Mio also understood the style of his paintings. He would never paint purely fictitious scenery, so Mio conducted an in-depth investigation and pieced together the route of that valley, and based on this, she applied to the job and group to develop in Quartz City. Targeting this magical valley is successfully developed. Not only can rare Pokémon, rare ores, and fossils be harvested, but it will even have very important academic significance. After Feng Shui learned about this, he was very angry and asked Mio to stop doing this, but Mio was prevaricated every time. In addition, Feng Shui understood that Mio did not share the secret with others, at least not the root. Otherwise, in the Tokiwa family, she would only be a marginal figure, and it would not be her turn to be responsible for this kind of thing. Then Feng Shui made a murderous move. "So, Senator Iwamatsu was also kidnapped by you?" Yumi asked quickly. "No, I don't know where that guy went," Feng Shui said angrily. "Indeed, that guy was also on his little notebook." "No, that kidnapping? What kind of kidnapping? Miss Junsha, I will sue you for defamation if you do this. I just invited Yansang to be a guest. If you don't believe me, you can ask him later." The owner of the Baiyun Pavilion was picking his nostrils at this time, while saying, "Huh." Yumi looked at Baiyun in surprise. I reacted immediately. Baiyun must have discovered something, so he wanted to stop Feng Shui. The reason why Yansong was kidnapped was probably to prevent brother Feng Shui from killing him directly. Although he didn't know the specific situation, Baiyun sensed murderous intent from Feng Shui's paintings. Of course, looking at the behavior of the master of the Baiyun Pavilion and the expression on Dr. Oki's face at this moment, Yumi estimates that after Iwamatsu comes back, he may really say that he is a guest, but since Dr. Oki has no objection, Yumi doesn't have to worry about anything. Anyway, Yumi doesn't like that greasy congressman. Now, Ruayu Feng Shui is officially arrested for the crime of endangering public safety. Yumi took Ruayu Feng Shui into custody first. Seeing that he didn't resist until he was dropped from the Pokeball, Yumi breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, Yumi's walkie-talkie also heard the sound of contact. "The downstairs has been blocked." Then, "Please Yumi police to stay and look after the owner of the Feng Shui Pavilion while we take a trip," Sakaki said solemnly. Yumi frowned when he heard this, and regardless of whether he was a champion or not, he said. No, no, no. It is our responsibility to look after the suspect and search for the prisoner as well. There is no need for Mr. Sakake's command. As the backbone of the Junsha clan trained in the Quartz Alliance, Yumi naturally knows many secrets. For example, she already knew Sakake's identity a few months ago. Junsha and organizations like the Rocket Team are completely contradictory and exclusive to each other. Even if Sakake is the favorite for the next championship point at the same time, Amu, Yuanzi and others had also landed on the roof of Building B. It was already dark at this time, and Tower A, which had a power outage, was also dark, but under the moonlight. Thick smoke could still be seen. Looking from here, you can clearly see that Tower A has 3 separated floors, and an explosion occurred at this time point. At this moment, Eminem noticed that someone was watching this scene with a very distressed expression. After recalling it for a while, Eminem remembered that this person should be Hidehiko, the designer of the building. President Mio had introduced him before, so he stepped forward and asked, "Mr. Hidehiko, where are the floors where the explosion occurred?" Hidehiko was feeling uncomfortable at the moment and didn't want to answer at first, but considering that Eminem was a guest of President Mio, he still replied, "It's the power distribution room, the computer data room, and the monitoring data room. All the computers in the building are remote desktops, and the host data are all on the same floor, making it easier to manage them in a unified manner. But now they are all handled in one place." Reference room. Amu was puzzled after hearing this. At the same time, he also thought of jamming and prepared to ask later. The power distribution room was bombed to cause chaos. The monitoring data room was bombed to hide its tracks, and only the computer data room should be the purpose point. But it stands to reason that if jamming had any clues about this, he would have already confessed honestly. On the other hand, there were already employees of Job and Group guiding everyone out of building B. From the elevator, this building was not attacked. All facilities were normal, and all elevators were able to operate. Because the remote desktop in Building B is also connected to Building A, it was not included in the attack scope. "Emma, let's go down first." Zyraksha greeted him at this time. "Oh, okay." Eminem was unprepared at this time point. No matter how you think about it, the people from the Dark Organization should have escaped. Otherwise, are you still here looking for death? Eminem and Zyraksha's group happened to be in line for the observation elevator, and there were not many people left at this time. Only Eminem, Zyraksha, Yuanzi, and Zyalin leading Conan. 5 people took the elevator. As for Zyoai, she had already left in the elevator of Block A with ordinary children. And just when the elevator started to descend, a black shadow was seen rising up and rushing towards the elevator. Eminem took a closer look and saw that it was a man in black riding a steel armored crow. If it wasn't Jin, who could it be? Slim Shady. Is this guy so brave? What's the reason? Just to test me? Ah. What is that? Yuanzi also discovered it at this time and immediately exclaimed. At this time, Eminem also noticed that Yuanzi's newly permed hair seemed a little subtle. Jin looked at the familiar silhouette. The closer he got to the elevator, the more perverted his smile became. Until, waving the shield sword monster, he was completely parallel to the falling observation elevator and looked at the people inside. Jin? Jin's expression froze. Who the hell is this? Take another look at Eminem next to you. Jin suddenly understood. Are you looking for someone to dress up as Shirley to ambush me? Note 1. The prototype is the Dasha Valley in the animation. Mrs. Tajipi egg in the animation was found in the Dasha Valley. However, in the animation, the fossil Pokémon are in a cave in Dasha Valley. This is just a reference and the setting is different. Chapter 382. Job and Twin Towers. Tower A and Tower B each have an observation elevator. The viewing elevator in Tower A naturally faces north and towards Bayin Mountain, allowing visitors to see the distant view of Bayin Mountain. As for the observation elevator in Building B, it is no surprise that it faces south, overlooking the urban area of Quartz City. After all, the Job and Twin Towers are located in the very north of the city. Although the attraction of overlooking the city is not as great as that of Bayin Mountain from the best position, but there is no other choice, right? You can't go north, right? If you look north, you can only see Tower A. At this time, Jin was coming from the south. preparing to attack Shirley. Eminem was also stunned when he saw Jin, but he reacted immediately. Mew 13, who was ambushing outside Block A, looked at Leixi, who suddenly turned his head and kept looking at him and asked, "Huh? What's wrong? Police department, did you feel it was dark over there just now?" As she looked in the direction of tower, being confusion. Huh? Mimu looked at this new subordinate strangely. "No, it's nothing." As she decisively did not continue this meaningless topic point, but then there was an obvious noise from the direction of building B, and at the same time, Mew's intercom also rang. "Police Department 13. A person fell down from building B." "No, it's not a victim. He seems to be someone from Team Rocket. He wanted to escape immediately after landing." A voice called for backup came from the other side of the intercom. Block B making an attack in the east and attacking in the west. Mew was also very confused, but he immediately gave the order and sent half of the people there point at the same time. A terrorist attack also occurred in a nearby neighborhood. It was vodka that was distracting the police, as the big brother told him before pointing Quartz City. There were already peripheral members of the dark organization who were also coordinating Operation Vodka at this time. Originally, Jin planned to go over and cut off the elevator with a knife and then leave directly. Although it was risky. After all, there were few people in the south of building B. If it was to kill Shirley, the risk was worth taking. Who knows, regardless of whether the vodka lured people away. As soon as Jin came over, he discovered that it was Eminem who was ambushing him. Immediately, a huge dragon claw struck down from the sky. Although the giant dragon did not appear completely this time, only one arm came down with a dragon claw, and the force was lighter than the one that was hugged last time. But Jin had no one else to spread his power this time. And he was in the air again. Even if he reacted in time and released other Pokémon as human shields, he would still be shot down directly. If Kaoparis appears in his true form, it will not be much shorter than the Twin Towers, which are less than 70 floors, and it will be much wider than that. Even just one arm instantly blocked a patch of moonlight, the darkness that Leixi felt. But Jin also came to the elevator at the last moment, just because he was stunned for a moment, and because he didn't bother to adjust later. Jin's sword hit higher. In his plan, he should have directly cut the elevator and the people inside into two parts, but due to this delay, he only cut the elevator. Although the elevator was not hit, the sword energy, the energy blade of Holy Sword, broke through the outer wall and cut off the cables on the elevator. Yuanzi and Xiaolan screamed. Xiaoxia even set a wrong example. When the elevator was falling, she instinctively released her Pokémon, a Pokémon that had no ability to solve the current predicament. Now it is released just to add counterweight. Fortunately, the elevator has an emergency brake. After falling for a short distance, the elevator locked in place. Although a piece of it fell inside, it finally stopped without any danger. Fortunately, Eminem is not that nervous. Otherwise, if he releases Arduin, he may not be able to stop this emergency brake. At the same time, Jin also fell down. If the steel-armored crow hadn't fluttered its wings to cushion it before fainting, he would have fallen to death on the spot. Although the gravity of this world makes it difficult for people to fall to death. But if you seek death, you must die. When everyone in the elevator was rescued by the flying Pokémon, Eminem immediately asked, "Where is Jinman?" Jin. So that guy's name was Jin. It's a pity that he escaped. Yumi ignored Mewgu's wink and answered Amu directly. Before Eminem could be disappointed, Yumi added, "But it's not without gain. Did we catch a very vicious fat man?" Amu's eyes lit up when he heard this. Fat man? That's not the case. But among Jin's Pokémon, both Guardian Dragon and Steel-Armored Crow have been detained and are still being rescued. Yumi said at this time. Eminem summed it up. The Protective Dragon and the Steel-Armored Crow, aren't these both Jin's mounts? This wave is equivalent to his Porsche being seized. As for the reason why Jin couldn't take them away, Yumi has already said it. Rescue Pokémon that are too injured cannot take back the Pokéballs. Although it was a pity that Jin escaped, but it was good to be able to hand over his Porsche. After all, Porsche can't talk, but Pokémon can't communicate. Even if he is usually with villains, he he will continue to do evil, but after being separated from the trainer, after psychological counseling, the probability of opening up is not small. Junsha is best at doing this, not only the information about Jin himself, but from them, we may be able to get some information about the organization. By the way, how did he fall? Some people saw that he seemed to have been hit by some huge steel bar when he attacked the observation elevator. Yumi asked Eminem in confusion. After all, no one was watching here at that time, and even after the explosion in Tower A, the surrounding pedestrians were evacuated. Although some people happened to see it, they didn't see it clearly. At least they didn't determine what old Kazam was. After all, it was already dark, and it was so high. To recognize it as a huge dragon arm does require some imagination. However, I didn't see any Reba at the scene. Xiaolan and Yuanzi were about to say something at this time, but Amu said first, I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of divine punishment. Huh. Yumi rolled her eyes at him angrily, obviously not accepting this statement, but at this moment the intercom rang, and a few people were held down by the commotion on the other side of the street. When Yuanzi and Xiaolan saw what Amu said, they looked at each other and decided to keep it a secret for the time being. They were also startled when they saw that thing, but then the elevator fell, and the reason for the fright changed. They had just determined that, judging from Eminem's reaction, that thing should be related to him. Xiaoxia and Conan were already lost in thought. Xiaoxia has heard about the giant dragon, so she can easily associate it with it, and Conan, although he doesn't know what it is, he understands why Xiaoai has to follow Eminem to feel safe. Chapter 383. Afterwards, as an important witness, Eminem came to Junsha's headquarters in Quartz City. Yuanzi, Xiaoxia and others have been sent back to the hotel by Junsha to rest. Eminem can come as a representative. Only Conan has to follow. At the Junsha headquarters, Amu met the leader of the explosive flame pavilion and others again, and finally understood what was going on over at Fengshu, a fossil pit that is still alive. But why would the master of Fengshu Hall think so? The alliance has protective measures for wild Pokémon habitats, right? Eminem asked with some confusion. After all, in this world, everyone is a Pokémon protector, and the mainstream value of mankind is to absolutely favor Pokémon. Firstly, it is because the current productivity of human society is closely related to Pokémon. Without Pokémon, today's technology would not be possible. Respecting and caring for Pokémon is inevitable. Secondly, people who like Pokémon can generally own stronger Pokémon. There are really a small number of people who hate Pokémon, and most of them cannot conquer Pokémon. In this world, they are considered third-class disabled people. The power is naturally low. Thirdly, there are so many mythical beasts. More than 200 years ago, in the minds of humans, these were all real gods. Even violent organizations generally do not take pleasure in killing Pokémon. Instead, they concoct some seemingly great purposes and beautiful visions. During this period, they use Pokémon to do evil, thinking that they are better than Pokémon hunters upscale. Haha, weren't you also attacked by Team Rocket when you were in the Moon Mound protected area? The owner of the explosive flame hall sneered from the side, seeming to be mocking Eminem's naivety. Boss Sakaki glanced at the two people here. Eminem looked at Bakuan. Sure enough, you and Boss Sakaki have some issues, right? Did you two film in the street to collect protection money, and even in the alliance, aren't there people like Counselor Omu? The leader of the explosive flame pavilion said again. Dr. Omu also glanced this way, and Amu smiled back slightly awkwardly. Well, Eminem now feels that the owner of the blazing flame hall may simply be annoying people. But Eminem also understood what he meant. On the one hand, he meant that once such a place is exposed, it is likely to be attacked illegally. On the other hand, because there are too many rare Pokémon in it, it also has important academic value. There may also be people within the alliance. After all, there are black sheep everywhere. But, let me tell you, Brother Fengshu is looking down on the new champion. Can you handle such a trivial matter? There is no need to set up a special protection zone. Otherwise, if there is a slight accident, today's incident will spread again. Why does he have the face to be a champion? The leader of the explosive flame pavilion said again in a deliberately high voice. Obviously, as a good friend of Brother Fengshu, Baoan is ready to use his own way To urge the alliance. Eminem thought for a while and then added in a low voice, "You can't say that. After all, this place was stolen by the Tokiwa group." Bakuan was stunned at first, thinking that Eminem was talking to Sakaki, and then found that he was winking at him, so he suddenly said, "Yes, the Jiban family, TSK, TSK, TSK. I don't know if the new champion will also be with him. Tokiwa has something to do with it. TSK, TSK, TSK. Sakaki. Well, the headquarters of the Joban group is in Joban City, and its scale is not comparable to that of the Suzuki group and Adaiji group, so it is considered to be covered by boss Sakaki. This is a real threat from the leader of the Bakuan Pavilion. If Sakaki fails to handle the Fossil Valley matter in the future, then don't blame me for going around," announced the truth, "and let everyone know that behind today's attack, it is all the conspiracy of your rockets." After being reminded by Amu, Baoan became more pleased with him. Eminem, you. Sakaki felt that this guy would do nothing good if he stayed here. You don't have to thank Eminem too much. He was the first to wake you up. He must have made his own judgment. Ha ha ha. The owner of the explosive flame pavilion laughed. Sakaki instinctively twitched the corner of his mouth and then said with a dark face, "I mean, if there is nothing else, you can go back and rest first. Don't you still have a game today?" I have to say, maybe the power of Tokiwa can speed up his recovery from his injuries, or maybe it's because Sakaki is in good health. The owner of Hanamaru Hall had already left with his face covered with a handkerchief. Junsha couldn't keep her, and boss Sakaki couldn't see anything on his face. Eminem has also been busy for most of the night, and he is really sleepy. Now not only us one, Ghost Stone and Pippi are in bad condition. Eminem is also suffering from a pair of dark circles under his eyes, although Eminem is the type who is very capable of staying up late, especially with the blessing of eternal flame. His energy is amazing. But this night was not just an ordinary night of staying up reading a book, but really frightening and full of twists and turns. Eminem's testimony has also been recorded. Seeing that nothing happened to him, he listened to Sakaki and left first. Conan didn't know where he went, so he tiptoed back to meet Eminem. "What on earth is that thing? A mythical beast? Why don't you pursue it later? Hey." When Conan came out of Junsha headquarters, he was still pestering Eminem to ask, "I don't know what you are talking about." Eminem showed a kind smile. I came over at this time. She had not entered Junsha headquarters before, but had been waiting outside, probably because she felt it was safer here. I see. No wonder the Jin Club was attacked at that time. Conan also reacted at this time. Obviously Conan is also the type who is not sensitive to changes in hairstyles of girls, other than suspects. Otherwise, with his insight, he should have discovered it long ago. At this time, Eminem's illustrated book rang, and when he looked at it, he found that it was Yumi. "Did you just leave? Do you want to wait for me a little longer and treat you to breakfast as a reward for cooperating with the case this time?" Yumi also yawned as she spoke. It is indeed almost dawn. "Forget it. I have to go back and change clothes, and then I'll almost leave for the competition. By the way, it's still being held in the Twin Towers." Well, there is nothing wrong with the main structure of the building. Just restart the backup power distribution room. Yumi said. "It is easy to restore small scale power supply in this world. Just connect a few Pikachus directly. And during the competition, only the top floors of 2 buildings are needed, and it has nothing to do with the 3 floors that were bombed." By the way, what was the result of the Pokémon interrogation? Amu asked curiously. When Conan and Zoi heard this, they immediately raised their ears. As expected, Yumi was still as careless as ever and did not keep the secret. "Hey, don't mention it. Something is not right. Those 2 Pokémon seem to have been hypnotized before. Let me tell you quietly, it is said that similar situations were found in the Pokémon of some of the leaders of Team Flare before." Hypnosis? Eminem was stunned when he heard this. Were those Pokémon controlled before? Yumi also said at this time, "Okay, I still have something to do, so I'll hang up before I can have breakfast." After the contact was hung up, Conan also reminded, I just quietly inquired, during the period when Yuan Jiaming was under surveillance, Junsha emphatically questioned him about logging into the Flame Team system at the Tokiwa Twin Towers, and whether there was any discovery, secret things in Team Flare's system. Obviously, this should be related to today. No, it was related to last night's attack. An. It's obvious that even at the Special Operations Team headquarters in Quartz City, there are undercover agents from Team Flare. These should be what the Dark Organization wants to ask Jiaming. It may not be Junsha who directly interrogated, but it may also be a hidden undercover who added these questions to it through his own authority. In addition, you don't call this inquiring anymore. Can you call it spying? Eminem looked at Conan. I don't know if Conan's latent spying ability is too high, or if Junsha headquarters confidentiality measures are too poor. Chapter 384 Venue. Let's say that Eminem returned to the hotel and just changed his clothes. It was already dawn, so he washed up and went out directly. He must change into these clothes. After all, Eminem was not sure today, so he could only try his best to wear them. If you have to be so showy, wouldn't it be even more embarrassing if you lose? Although it was not time for the competition, Eminem still went out early and rushed to the airport first. Grandma Rexy and Sister King Mui were on the plane this morning. Eminem plans to pick them up and go to the stadium together, and ZOAI is also with him. Sister King Mui. This way. After seeing the person, Eminem immediately greeted him. Fortunately, there are fewer people coming to Quartz City in the past few days, and there are not too many people at the airport. Emma. King Mui quickly helped her grandma over. I'll get it. Huh. Sister King Mui, where is your luggage? Eminem couldn't help but be startled when he saw that both his grandfather and grandson were empty-handed. Sister King Mui groaned when she heard this and just looked at her grandma. Grandma Leixi said, I guess you won't win today. We will go back in the evening. Slim Shady, your name is ZOAI, right? I heard Eminem talking about. King Mui came close at this time and touched ZOAI's head. Who knew that ZOAI not only seemed introverted and did not take the initiative to say hello, but even had an indifferent expression when her head was touched, which made King Mui a little embarrassed. Is she your sister? Grandma Leixi looked at ZOAI and said with a frown, Grandma. King Mui thought that Grandma didn't like this little girl who seemed a little cold, so she quickly tried to persuade her, but ZOAI feels this old lady seems to have seen something. Grandma Ike herself responded, no, actually. Eminem didn't understand how Grandma Leixi could tell. He didn't meet her until he was 13 years old. Okay, young people should work harder and encounter more weird things. Think back to those days. Hi. Grandma Leixi waved her hand casually and said, is this the eyesight of an old man? But Eminem felt something was wrong. Dr. Omu didn't have this kind of vision either. Immediately Eminem realized that maybe it was due to pharmacy. Although ZOAI's condition was not caused by medicine, it was ultimately a physiological change. In fact, there is another half of the reason Eminem didn't react, because he was in the middle of it. Grandma Leixi knows Eminem very well, so she can naturally tell something from his attitude. And it's not like Dr. Roki didn't realize that Conan didn't look like a child, but he was always diverted by him, and Dr. Ellie was covering him, so he didn't go into details. After getting into the car, King Mui looked at Eminem in the passenger seat in the rearview mirror and asked in confusion, Emma, did you not have any rest last night? Before waiting for Eminem's answer, King Mui felt a little dissatisfied. He said, we have to compete today. We shouldn't have gone to a ribbon cutting ceremony yesterday. After that, there were words such as it may not be a good idea to attract investment to open a research institute and you have to listen to others. It's not a ribbon cutting ceremony. It's actually a bit exciting. Eminem said awkwardly. Eminem and King Mui had talked about attending the ribbon cutting ceremony on the phone, but naturally they didn't tell them what happened last night, which only made their grandma and sister worry. Grandma Leixi is listening to the radio, and Grandma Leixi never wears headphones when listening to the radio. Just at this time, the broadcaster reported, now this station will break a news for you. Last night at the job on Twin Towers, during the ribbon cutting ceremony, an explosion occurred. After investigation, it was planned by the Flame team for an unknown purpose. 6 security personnel were killed. Death and a vicious attack also occurred at the ribbon cutting scene, although several hours had passed. Because it concerned Team Flare, the news was blocked for a period of time. After the situation was clarified, the news was broadcast. After all, if it is not clarified, it might be suspected to be the work of the Rockets. Explosion. Attack. What's going on? Aren't there many museum owners and kings here? Eminem, are you not injured? After hearing this, King Mui immediately asked worriedly, no, it has nothing to do with me. I just happened to be there. Eminem didn't want Sister King Mui and Grandma Lexi to worry either. However, the radio continued. According to people familiar with the matter, everyone present was caught off guard and hypnotized. Fortunately, Eminem, the rookie contestant, took action and woke up whole Master Sakaki first, which turned the tide. Eminem, Kiyomi, ahem, just a little help. Eminem explained immediately. Eminem estimates that this was revealed by the owner of the Bakuan Pavilion, who did not want to be named. Without waiting for King Mui to say anything, Grandma Leixi said first, okay, what's the point of this? Think back then. Now this is just pediatrics. Even if you are a pharmacist, you can't just be pampered and have some experience. Grandma Leixi has seen strong winds and waves. Kiyomi looked at her grandma, hesitated and asked, Hanamaru, is the owner okay? When Grandma Leixi heard the name, she just hummed and said nothing. Eminem said immediately, it's okay. The second person I woke up was the owner of Hanamaru Hall, PFFT, cough. Zio I couldn't help but laugh. She also knows what happened now. After all, the owner of Hanamaru Hall finally left with his face covered. Soon Eminem took Grandma Iki and Kiyomi to the Tokiwa Twin Towers. Tower A had 3 floors at this time, and the outside was covered with colorful cloth. In addition, the hotels and businesses on all levels that were originally scheduled to be open to the public today have not opened as scheduled, but the stadium and auditorium remain the same. This is also to create an appearance of no big deal, so as not to make people think that the alliance has been messed up by the Flare team. Grandma Leixi, Sister King Mui, you and Zio AI. Eminem was about to say something. Suddenly a voice came from behind Eminem. When Eminem turned around, she saw that it was Yuanzi, who was not as energetic as usual. After all, what happened last night had frightened her quite a bit. At first, Eminem thought she would not come today. Yuanzi? Why are you here? Amu couldn't help but be startled when he saw Yuanzi and Xiaolan. Of course I'm here to cheer you on. Yuanzi said that, even if she can't win today, she will definitely come. Xiaolan said for Yuanzi at this time, I didn't say that I would definitely not win. Yuanzi corrected in a low voice. Originally, Kiyomi was dissatisfied because her innocent Eminem was implicated. If it weren't for the Suzuki family's young lady, who had to force Eminem to go with her, how could things have happened now? However, I felt relieved when I saw Yuanzi, who was obviously looking very haggard, and came to cheer for Eminem. You are here just in time. You also know Grandma Rexy and Sister King Mui. The auditorium and the stadium are not on the same side. You can take them there. Eminem immediately asked Yuanzi to come. Of course, Zio AI is not an ordinary child, and it is more than enough for her to lead the way. But Zio AI is too cold. Leave it to me. Yuanzi naturally agreed. Where's Conan? Eminem thought he hadn't gone back to the hotel yet. He insisted on riding the tram with my dad. It seems something happened on the road and it was delayed. Xiaolan said depressedly. Slim Shady, something happened to the poor tram or the other poor passengers, right? As expected of Conan, he stayed up all night. Isn't he still idle? Eminem also went to Tower B alone today. It doesn't mean that we can't win. What if character is conserved and today's hypnosis powder is always on target? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385 Lessons Learned. It wasn't until Eminem came to the battle arena on the top floor of Tower B and found that the whole place was sizzling with electric light. Then his face froze and he quickly opened the illustrated book to read it. He had been busy all night and didn't have time to read it. Look what the venue is today. When he saw the electric field, Eminem's heart suddenly dropped a little. Hypnosis? What the hell? Under the electric field, electrical power is integrated into the earth, which not only allows Pokémon to absorb electrical power from the earth and enhance the power of electricity skills, but also because it can sense electricity anytime and anywhere. Non-electricity, non-ground Pokémon will move slightly sluggishly and will not fall into a sleep state easily. Point if Doc Ray comes. It will be a Pokémon that can easily hypnotize the little wolf, and it is guaranteed not to wake up even if 100,000 volts is applied to the face. But Eminem, let's forget it. Taking advantage of the fact that there was still an hour of preparation time before the start of the game, Eminem guided our men and Nido to change their skills on the spot. Point originally Eminem wanted to take a gamble. When I saw this electric field I quickly changed Armen's hypnosis powder and asked Nido to replace it with 100,000 volts. This can be said to be very detrimental to Eminem. Hypnosis fan, don't count on it. And although Eminem has boom, in comparison, Sioran's Thunderbird Dragon must be taking advantage of it. When Misty came over, she also had a solemn look on her face. Water Pokémon would be more affected than ordinary non-electric and non-ground Pokémon. Point and his Pikachu definitely likes this environment. I just don't know if his Pikachu can play today. Because Zyraksha's competition was in the afternoon, she came a little later. In the morning she just took advantage of the privilege of the players to watch the competition up close. Huh. That guy Zyraksha, it seems like his Pokémon is really overdrawn. Eminem found that he had already changed his skills and the game was about to start, but Zyraksha hadn't appeared yet. It doesn't seem to be because of this. I heard that he picked up Zyraksha and took the tram from the hospital in the morning. But something happened on the way and he went back to the hospital. Zyraksha really knows something. Slim Shady. Amu didn't give Amu any time to pay more attention to Zyraksha or Zyraksha, and soon the game time arrived. When he heard the admission notice, Eminem slapped his face, sobered up, then entered the room and played with the ball. Electric venue. Generally speaking, it is definitely disadvantageous for Eminem, but among these disadvantages, it is not impossible to find some advantages. Eminem also temporarily adjusted his tactics and put Arduin in the general position instead of Coffin as previously decided. In fact, it is the rookie game that requires the use of this kind of integrated game ball. In the official game of mature trainers, the game ball can be refilled between singles and doubles. That is, there is no restriction on repeated entry, only for the rookie game. At that time, restrictions were made to prevent new trainers from focusing on only a few Pokémon. Please invite contestants Xiaolang and Eminem to enter. After the referee's announcement, both sides shook hands. Unfortunately, it seems that I can't compete with you in full condition this time. Although Xiaolang said this, he had no intention of giving in to Eminem. Eminem rolled his eyes and said, next time I will definitely. In the semi-finals, Xiaolang player will face Eminem player. Standard points match. Singles rules. Please both sides send out the starting Pokémon. It still focuses on doubles. That is, singles matches first. Sure enough, as soon as Xiaolang appeared on the stage, he first sent out his ace, Thunderbird Dragon, which was also more at home in the electric field. This is exactly what Eminem expected to be somewhat beneficial. Since this is the electric field, it makes sense that the only non-native Pokémon quota for Xiaolang will not be Ichthyosaurus but Thunderbird. Xiaolang's Ichthyosaurus and Thunderbird were both very strong, but Thunderbird was restrained by Arduin, Eminem's main force. The ground plus rock dual type super armored crazy rhino can directly ignore the energy impact of the electrical system. Although it is not immune to physical impact, with the super armored crazy rhino's rough skin and thick flesh, it is not immune to physical impact. Worry about physical impact. However, Eminem's first choice is not Arduin, but Armen. He has to set up the magic space. First, a battle between dragons and tigers, from the perspective of a newcomer, taking place on the battlefield in the air. Eminem has completely accepted the lesson I learned last time this time. Bajia said with emotion, and the audience. Xiaomai also sat next to him at this time, curled his lips and said, but you won last time. Tactically, I'm far inferior to Eminem. Baji shook his head and then added, and if it takes a few days, Eminem will have a greater chance of winning. At this time on the field, Armin received the thunder technique 3 times, opened the magic space, and then took the initiative to leave the field. Why can Armin be so supportive? Receive thunder method 3 times. It is definitely not enough to rely solely on the grass element to resist electric attacks. Mainly, hold magic space, hold, substitute. Well, 2 of the thunder spells were resisted by defend, although they were penetrated. The remaining damage after the penetration was somewhat disappointing. This is indeed a lesson learned from Badger's experience in the qualifiers. All of Eminem's Pokémon, except Cassie, have defend. If you can defend, just defend it. When you can't defend, you will only take it, and the only direct connection triggers a cloak of momentum. Under the effect of, or a cloak, Armin not only held on and released the magic space, but also managed to hang on when hold was worn for the 2nd time, and then had the opportunity to substitute. The one who was replaced was, of course, Arduin. After Arduin came out, he was covered by the ground attribute, and the damage caused by thunder technique was minimal. He was just a hard peck. Later, in the magic space, Arduin, who no longer had the weakness of speed, continued to stick to Eminem's grand strategy. Hold, don't hold, hold. In short, if you can defend. Xiaolang was not stupid, and immediately changed to Gotha Duck. Although standing on the electric field was a bit numb, Gotha Duck's water element restrained the ground element, and also restrained the rock element. Arduin was not greedy either. Hold, Thunder Fist, hold, and then he changed into a coffin that became a sniper trial after some joint defense and substitutions. It seemed that they failed to cause too much damage to Xiaolang's Pokémon, but his own Pokémon's physical strength continued to decline. But, if you observe carefully, you will find that Xiaolang's Pokémon consumption is not large, but Xiaolang is already panting. Dong dong. The preparations have been going on for a long time, and everyone must have guessed that Eminem will not win the championship in the Kanto competition. So this game has been omitted. Chapter 386. Shame. The Super A-League Rhinoceros has lost its fighting capacity in the singles matches over. The Xiaolang player has 9 points and the Eminem player has 3 points. In the blink of an eye, under all kinds of holding and zone defense, Eminem still lost the singles, but in the end, the coffin changed into Sniper Trial, and sewing Shadow nailed Thunderbird Dragon on the court, and was surprised to change to a smaller one. The wolf came down, allowing Eminem to score 3 points, and at the same time, it also weakened the subsequent performance of Thunderbird, who would also appear in the doubles. Eminem still followed the steps. Boom started the double wall first. Because of his speed advantage, Boom squeezed out the double wall gap between holding. After Boom left the field, Ake was responsible for opening the magic space. Arduin ate the magic space and faced the double wall to fight Xiaolang again. Nido's 100,000 volts also increased under electric field, and he also brought hold and cloak of momentum in order to bring out the effect of eternal flame, regardless of whether he is playing singles or doubles. Eminem always switches to zone defense whenever he can. It can be said that it is delayed again and again. It's a pity that in the end, the move was wrong. Kyuubi and Cassie have lost their fighting ability. The points match is over. The Sioran player scored 4 points in doubles, with a total score of 13 points, and won the overall victory. The second half of the referee's sentence was a little anxious because a little wolf fainted at this time. The referee has seen the winner several times, but the trainer fell down immediately. This was the first time he had seen him, but someone immediately came to carry him down. In fact, the problem is not that big. It's just that Eminem dragged him into casting spells for more than 30 times in a row. As a little wizard who has not yet fully grown up, his body is a little overwhelmed. Eminem was also depressed when he saw this scene. Couldn't you have fainted earlier? But think about it. The reason why Xiaolang fell down in response was because he was relieved. Otherwise he might be able to squeeze out more point. As soon as Eminem came off the stage, the picture book rang, and it turned out to be Mr. Jumu's phone number. Ha ha ha. Now you are really the student with the worst debut score that I have ever had. Teacher Jumu said with a smile. As soon as he appeared, apparently Dr. Jumu was watching the live broadcast before. Not yet. I'm still planning to go to Johto and make my debut again. Eminem explained immediately. Well, since the schedule allows it, who stipulates that you can't debut twice? Oh. What if you haven't won the championship in Johto's rookie competition? Teacher Jumu asked specifically. I heard that in the Orange Islands rookie competition, all newcomers who have received the illustrated book within 3 years can participate. Eminem said deliberately. Bah. What kind of village competition is that in the Orange Islands? You won't be embarrassed, even if you win the championship. Teacher Jumu's words are very hateful and cannot be heard by the people in the Orange Islands. It is a common practice in this world that some competitions with low gold content are called village competitions, which is a contemptuous term. The games in the Orange Islands are actually quite valuable, but they can't be compared with games in major leagues. After all, the Orange Islands are not only small in area and population, but the so-called Orange Alliance is only a vassal of the Quartz Alliance and is not among the 9 major alliances. It is precisely because of this that, in order to attract the new generation of trainers to come, the registration conditions will be relaxed. In this way, many new generation trainers who failed in the region in the first year will participate. By the way, race to the Orange Islands. But in Dr. Jumu's opinion, this is not up to paragraph. It has the feeling of being a serious full-time student and looking at shortcomings. Don't worry, that's what I said. This time I'm gaining experience. I'm determined to win the Johto rookie competition. Eminem also said quickly. Humph, just work hard. If you had concentrated on the rookie competition in Johto from the beginning, you could still be sure of success. But if you insist on eating more and occupying more, in the end, you will lose half a year of accumulation on both sides. You can guarantee it. There must be no dark horses in the Johto area. Teacher Jumu reminded, and then added a special sentence. And your luck, puff puff, slim. Shady, of course. This is something that Teacher Jumu still doesn't understand. After becoming the Harvest Priest, Eminem's improvement in the 3 systems of ground, grass, and poison was done. After all, this happened not long before the competition, and the training results did not have time to be reflected too much. But for the Johto rookie competition, Eminem still has half a year to prepare. Even Eminem can say this. If something goes wrong again, I won't pretend to be a gentleman. If I don't know for sure, is Eminem really unable to defeat Xiaolang this time? Not to mention that Eminem is not in the best condition due to the previous attrition. Otherwise he would have won in all likelihood. More importantly, if Eminem is really shameless, actually, Dragon Scale Talisman is also effective against the opponent's Pokémon. Generally speaking, even the top trainer talents, such as Grass Heart and Dragon Heart, cannot directly interfere with the opponent's Pokémon. But Leoka's Dragon Scale Talisman is extraordinary, although Eminem is not sure whether Leoka has a godhead, a divine position, or a priesthood, and it is always vague about it. But comparing it with the descendants of the mythical beasts that Eminem has seen, such as Darkrai and Celebi, but it can be inferred that the old card must be top notch when converted into a mythical beast. And this Dragon Scale Talisman is different from ordinary blessings from divine beasts. It's not like giving Eminem some kind of ability. It doesn't improve Eminem himself much, but the effect is much more direct. It's like a prop, or it gives Eminem a mark. Let all dragon type Pokémon and sea type Pokémon know that this person is protected by my Poseidon. Therefore, if Eminem is really shameless, he can definitely make Xiaolang's Thunderbird Dragon directly turn against him. It's just that Eminem doesn't want to do this. First of all, it's because of the shame. This Dragon Scale Talisman is no longer like an ability, but more like a power. Secondly, with such a magical ability, Eminem might don't want to use it directly on the battlefield. After all, there are evil people like Team Flare in this world. If you conceal this ability, you may be able to turn the tide at a critical moment, but it must be used on the real enemy. Drive. Jumu encouraged him for a few more words and then hung up the phone. In fact, he was worried that Eminem would have the anxiety of a frustrated young genius after his failure, so he expressed his condolences. But now it seems that Eminem's mentality is pretty good. After all, for Eminem, it's a battle. There are winners and losers. Isn't that normal? On the contrary, others may take it too seriously. Sister King Marie, Sonoko and others went out of their way to comfort Eminem at noon. Only Grandma Leixi, after seeing that there was nothing wrong with Eminem's condition, began to mutter, "I knew I couldn't win. I'd better just stick to being a pharmacist and the like." In the afternoon, the Mistress vs. Ash match was not an upset, but it was true that Ash was not in the best condition either. Pikachu did not appear, Charizard did not appear, and his best friend also involved in a tram kidnapping case and was injured and hospitalized. In the end, even on the electric field, she was still defeated by Zyraksha. In the evening, Zyraksha sharpened her sword and prepared for a day of retreat to prepare for the final the day after tomorrow. If it were before the competition, Zyraksha might feel that being the runner-up was beyond expectations, but having reached this point, of course she still wanted to win a point. However, at this moment, Eminem was on his way to send Sister King Marie and Grandma Lexi to the airport when he heard the news broadcast from Grandma Lexi's radio. The latest news. Just now, Xiao Lang, the finalist of the rookie competition, has submitted a waiver application to the competition committee. According to expert analysis, he overused his special abilities in today's competition. Chapter 387 Mother. Hahaha, what did I say? I just said that my Zyraksha has the appearance of a champion, right? I would say that the little wolf is just scared, or something. He didn't work when he was exposed at the championship award ceremony. The master of the Blazing Flame Pavilion spoke wildly point, but I finally remembered that something should be kept secret, and I didn't blurt out the word wizard directly point. The old friends around him also laughed with them. After all, Baowan's temper was just like his name, and, anyway, his daughter did win the championship. Although this champion feels a bit like a koi, if there is no real quality, and he fights every game, no matter how coy he is, he will not be able to touch the championship point. Of course, when it comes to luck, it's really conserved. It's just a method of conservation. It's not the constant unlucky that Asao wants, nor the compensation for unlucky that Ryoko wants, but conservation among a pair of traveling partners. Eminem with black hands, Zyraksha who shaped the koi. When the results of the previous draw came out, no one expected that Eminem actually defeated Badger in a bloody battle despite the gap in physical strength, and then defeated Xiao Lang. It can be said that even though he lost, he was on at point. Now when talking about this rookie competition, the ones that impress everyone the most are Eminem and Badger. It's a pity that the rookie competition is an individual competition, and the champion is the champion, and there is no additional award for the most valuable player. In fact, Xiao Lang's final abstention made the competition committee very passive. Even if he went up to compete, there was no need to refund the ticket, right? However, Xiao Lang feels that he has been unable to cast spells in the past few days, and he does not know how to direct the Pokémon duel. If he really gets into it, he can only let the Pokémon perform on their own, and the possibility of winning is unlikely, so I gave up decisively. Even the competition committee's persuasion failed to change his mind. This made the rookie competition quite anticlimactic. Some people in charge of the competition committee even thought that, since Xiao Lang was going to abstain, they should find a reason to change the outcome of the match between Eminem and Xiao Lang, and bring Eminem back. The final. But, on the way home, after being persuaded by unknown people, the competition committee still did not make this idea point at this time. Zyraksha came down holding the trophy in one hand and Tajipa's egg in the other. The explosion of flames made her even more excited. How is it? Let me just say that this Tajipa egg must be Zyraksha's, right? Hahaha. But just then, without saying a word, Zyraksha threw the trophy to her father, and then handed Tajipa's egg to Eminem, and said, "Here, ah." Eminem was stunned when he saw this. Zyraksha's face turned red and she said, "Ah, what? You are so unlucky. If you don't reconcile, I won't even dare to take a boat ride with you. Slim Shady. First of all, Eminem thought to himself, if the Santo Anu sank, then he would definitely not be the one who worked. Secondly, this is a gift from the Viridian group. Why don't you give it to me? Eminem said sheepishly. Eminem can also understand that this is probably because Xyloxia is really worried about her luck. The leader of the Blast Flame Pavilion on the side, as if his neck was suddenly strangled, began to look at Eminem with resentful eyes and began to mutter about it. This look. It's hard not to feel it even for Eminem. It's not that Bakuan really has this to GP egg. Bakuan is one of the former 8 Jamonas. What rare and precious Pokémon has he not seen? But the daughter gave the championship gift to others, especially to a man, which made Baoan feel a little uncomfortable. Give it to me. Of course it's mine. Just hold it for you. Xyloxia said and stuffed it into Eminem's arms, and Eminem took it instinctively. Just when the two of them had their hands on the egg, suddenly the egg flashed, which was somewhat similar to the light during evolution. This is about to hatch. It's the prelude to hatching. By the way, I remember Tajipa's habits are, do you think of the first person or Pokémon you see as your mother? Yes. I also heard that, if Tajipa was not hatched by the trainer in the first place, it would be difficult for him to evolve. Under the gaze of everyone, they saw that the upper part of Tajipa's egg was split open and then pushed away. A large, slightly angular head was exposed inside, and the limbs were also cracked, with short and cute little ones sticking out limbs. The lower half of the eggshell is still on Tajipa's body, and will be part of its body from now on until it evolves once. Haha. The leader of the explosive flame hall giggled. It's nothing else, just Tajipa now sees two people at the same time. So, no matter how you look at it, you should think that Xyloxia has more of a motherly aura, right? The owner of the Bakuan Hall was a little happy that his daughter's Tajipa was not given away. Bobo, Ken, Bibajiba's cry had an obvious tongue-snapping sound. When Xyloxia saw this cute thing, she even wanted to keep it by herself, but at this moment, I saw Tajipa looking around, and then with a strong effort on his short limbs, he turned to Eminem's side with great effort. Poke. Tajipa made a hug gesture towards Eminem. Explosive flames. Xyloxia? Looking at the appearance of Tajipa, Xyloxia instinctively looked down. She could indeed see the toes and even the insteps. Is it because it doesn't make sense? If you want to talk about this, Eminem doesn't have it either, right? Eminem can understand. This must be because of the mother's passing. Although it is only the harvest priest, it makes Tajipa instinctively think that this is the mother. After all, Tajipa is a fairy type Pokémon, and its feeling comes more from intuition than hormones. But when Eminem looked at Xyloxia in front of him, he seemed to be stuck in some kind of self-doubt. Pokepi turned to look at Xyloxia at this time, but his eyes were a little confused, as if to say, are you my father, Xyloxia? At this moment, Eminem's skin popped out, and Ghost Stone also floated out of the shadow. Boss, my eldest sister gave you a cute thing. I think you should return the gift, and give you a cute thing. For example, I'm very cute. GG. How cute are you? It's obviously me, Cute Gissy. The two of them have probably caused enough harm to Security Research Institute and want to change places. You two are everywhere. Eminem curled his lips and took the elf balls back to them first. In fact, Eminem naturally has his own plans for conquering the 9 Pokémon now. Although he plans to go to the sea and later to the Johto area and has little time to carry them with him, he does not plan to place them in the giant tree for a long time. Research Institute, at least find a place for them to have their own things to do, except Arduin, because it is quite comfortable in the Iron Armored Rhino Valley, although it is not stored in a professional place. When Eminem wants to change Pokémon, it is more inconvenient and cannot be contacted at any time, but when necessary, he can still pierce the clouds with an arrow just like in the original work. The Charizard who was placed in the Charizard Valley by Xiaozi, and the Koga Ninja who protects the environment. Unlike other Pokémon stored in the Research Institute, they can be exchanged with just a phone call. But when you really want to find them, it only takes some effort. Eminem probably knew all the other Pokémon, but only Pippi and Ghost Stone were two prodigal ones. Eminem felt that he couldn't bear to put them anywhere, mainly because he couldn't bear to harm others. But Xyloxia thought for a while and said, "You can leave them here with me. After going to sea, I will also prepare to return to Hualunjim." Explosive Flames. Chapter 388 Itinerary. Eminem probably already knows a lot about the Pokémon he has conquered in Kanto. Needless to say, Amen, his first Pokémon and an assistant in refining medicine, is going to send it back to Sangzao Town. Even though Grandma Rexy doesn't have teleportation equipment, it doesn't matter. Amen was half a year ago. I feel very restless. I have been wandering around for half a year now, and I feel homesick whenever Eminem needs it, mainly if he needs the cooperation of his old partner Amen when refining medicine. It is not impossible to call King Mei in advance and make an appointment to teleport to the Pokémon Center. As for Awen and Nido, the two of them are planned to be taken with them at all times. Even if they are not needed occasionally, they can still be fostered with teacher Jumu. It is the same as before, and there is nothing to change. The same is true for Boom. The first two are, because they have not yet quietly, and they also want to continue traveling and conquering the city with Mew. And, grass type and ground type Pokémon are also the Pokémon that Mew can focus on cultivating. Part of the reason for this is that Nido doesn't want to be separated from a Lion. Although in the rookie competition, you can only use one Pokémon from a non-local region in each game, but you can't only use the same one in every game, right? In fact, these are also applicable to Arduin. But Arduin, a guy who has been valuing sex over friends recently, may want to stay in the Armored Rhino Valley for a while. After all, when it is staying at home, it is not playing games, but there are more exciting things than playing games for Boom. Jumu Research Institute has always been his home, and there is nothing to change. It's easy to say okay, but of course Eminem wants to send it back to the Golden Gym. Eminem understands that the reason why the Golden Gym entrusted Ake to him was not because of how well he trained super type Pokémon, but because Ake couldn't evolve before. He not only fell into a growth bottleneck, but also lacks self-confidence. Now Eminem is taking him to participate in the rookie competition, and he has actually gotten a lot of wonderful shots. I guarantee that at least in the newcomer competition in the future, no one will dare to underestimate Cassie. After seeing him point, therefore, Ake is much more confident now. Although it has not evolved, I believe that after returning, it will be able to increase its growth level. In this case, when it comes to the growth of super type Pokémon, training with Eminem by his side is no better than training on his own at the Golden Gym. In addition, when Eminem goes to the Golden Gym, he is also prepared to ask about the harvest sacrifice. It is not a priest profession, but an act of sacrifice. The super type gym may be nagging about these gods. Comparative understanding. As for the coffin, this is the least needed to say. Nominally, he is still in Dr. Sakurage's research institute, but in fact he is following the Cube team. At least for the past 2 years, he can stay in the Cube team. Even training will not be delayed. Interest is the best trainer originally. Pippi and Ghoststone were always in trouble, and would cause trouble wherever they were placed. But now that Xyloxia said so, Eminem was relieved. Also, speaking of coffins, what? Aren't you going to Hualan City together? Xyloxia and Yuanzi looked at Eminem in surprise. Did you forget that I have a football basketball game? Isn't the high school league a game? Eminem rolled his eyes. Xyloxia and Yuanzi then remembered that Eminem's other dirty trick had not been fulfilled yet. For regular football basketball games, the trainer of foreign aid must be present, even if he doesn't actually know how to direct anything. Seeing that this is September 8th, the round robin stage of the high school league is on the 10th, 12th, and 14th, and QB has been drawn on the 10th and 14th. As for the Santanu, it will stay in Cerulean City from the 10th to the 12th. In other words, no matter what happens, Eminem will not be able to catch up with the ship in Cerulean City. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, with the VIP tickets awarded to the top 4 by the Quartz Alliance, you can board the ship at any port of call in the Kanto area. You go to Hulan first. I'll wait for the game here to end, and then go to the port behind to meet you. Eminem also knew that except for Conan, no one else was interested in the football basketball game at all. Then, Zio AI, do you want to Zio looked at Zio AI at this time point, but Zio AI immediately hid behind Eminem's legs. No, obviously, Zio AI still has to stay with Eminem. Eminem, who can summon the big and black one to attack people at any time, can give her a sense of security point, especially since Conan has figured out the situation in the past few days, before Jin attacked Eminem. Even the hospital, where Mingmui was staying, had briefly investigated the situation and even found the flowers she gave to her sister. Fortunately, I believe that after his mount was captured, Jin probably felt that the flower was also part of Eminem's conspiracy point. In addition, Conan mentioned before that the Flame team failed to obtain information from Jiaming through Junsha of the Special Operations team. This all shows that the dark organization is pervasive. In this case, it is still safest to be around Amu. Even Junsha cannot be completely trusted. Zio AI turns out to also like football basketball games. Zioland said with some surprise. At this time point, Conan curled his lips when he saw this. Does she like football basketball games? In fact, I'm the one who really wants to stay. After all, there is still the Didden High School competition, but since Zioland was going to take a boat, he naturally followed point. As for the football basketball game, Conan naturally knew that Zio AI's interest in football basketball was a chasing star kind of interest, and he would only look indifferent to the little brat football basketball game throughout the whole process. If we finish the competition on the 14th, we will stop at the port of Ziyuan town for a day on the 15th. By then, Yuanzi searched for the itinerary. Hey, maybe we can still advance. Eminem rolled his eyes. Don't automatically ignore the upcoming games. I'm afraid there's not much hope. Conan muttered in a low voice. Originally there was hope for the Cuba team, but someone got the chance to win the title of Emperor Didden High School. It will only stop for one day on the 15th. If it is delayed, we will have to wait until the 18th to stop at Kaianhang City for 2 days. Yuanzi reminded. If I can win a few more games after being promoted, I will just wait for the 21st or 2nd of Kuai City to board the ship at Kuai Port. If I just advance, I will go to Kaianhang Port to board the ship. Eminem's plan is that if he wins a lot and misses the light red port, he will first go to Golden City to see Ake off, and then go south to Dryleaf Port. If he wins less and the race ends early, then he will do the opposite. Anyway, we will stop at Kuai Port for 3 days, and it would be a good time to go to Jinhuang City at that time point. After the Deadleaf Port, the Santana will go for a spin in the open sea of the Southern Seas instead of sailing along the shallow sea. In total, it is about 10 days later than Xiaoxia and the others. Of course, if the Cuba team fails to live up to expectations and loses in the promotion round, it will only be about 5 days late. Dang dang, the third update is late, and there are only 3 days left in this month. Please vote for me. Please vote for me. Chapter 389 copy. In the 2 days after the award ceremony, Eminem accompanied the Cuba team on assault training while cultivating relationships with 2 eggs. One was Pakipi, which had been hatched, but was still mostly an egg, and the other it's a Bangerous egg that hasn't hatched yet, including the USB flash drive in his pocket, which is the egg of Porygon. After hatching, it will be regarded as the Pokémon captured in Quartz City, which means it can also be used normally in the rookie competition in the Johto area. In the next 7 days, Eminem, or the Cuba team, almost replicated Eminem's experience in the rookie competition. On September 10th, in the first game, the Cuba team played against another passenger team in the same group and won easily, which was considered to be in the state point. On September 12th, we played against Didden High School, which had won 10 consecutive championships. After the first battle, Coffin lost strength twice, and in the end he was so exhausted that he fainted. After losing the battle, Ushao was also so exhausted that he lost all strength, and Gang Zion was completely suppressed. Hanamichi and his turban gangster were seriously injured trying to cooperate in the rescue point. In the end, despite the team's extraordinary performance and overdraft, at the end of the game, Hanamichi beat Didden High School at the buzzer. Didden High School, which had been the champion and the most popular seed for 10 consecutive years, was actually defeated by the newcomers who only entered the league competition this year. This result can be said to shock everyone who paid attention to the game point. However, the Cuba team was unable to fight again after that. Hanamichi was undoubtedly the most seriously injured. Most of the others just lost strength. Shao and Taken just needed a few days of rest. Although the turban gangster was also injured, as a treasure Camus, even if he doesn't recover immediately, he will be able to regain his strength in a few days, and the injury on Hanamichi's back, after the doctor's diagnosis and Ryoko's evaluation, it will probably take until this time next year for recovery. In other words, Hanamichi will be absent from next year's league competition qualifiers, and will not return until almost before the winter games. Although the QB team advanced on the schedule, they were defeated without any suspense in the next game, and there were not many regular players who could make it. Note 1. In the high school football and basketball league circles, it was already big news that Didon High School was defeated by the newcomers, and Eminem also makes it more interesting. In addition, the draw for Team QB was also drawn by Eminem, and countless tidy news broke the circle for a while. The high school basketball league alone does not have such a big influence. But one person can draw this lottery twice and defeat powerful opponents twice. This is also an interesting thing for people who don't pay attention to it. In particular, the Daily Football tabloid also captured a photo of Eminem holding Pokémon and standing on the sidelines with a blank look on his face, which is the best perspective point. Now it is going viral on the internet and has been turned into various emoticons. As soon as the game on the 16th ended, Eminem rushed back to Sangzhou Town Point, although this is already an honorable defeat result for the QB team. But, even if they want to have a celebration party, the QB team has been reduced too seriously, so everyone is not in the mood to stay in Quartz City for a long time. TSK, did the football team lose too? Sure enough, apart from being a pharmacist, you can't do anything else. After Grandma Ike asked about Eminem's situation, she started mocking him. Grandma, Leixi, is there any potion that can increase luck? Eminem asked deliberately coquettishly. Sister King Mei was snickering from the side, but Grandma Leixi thought for a while and said, there really is, but I don't remember the prescription. It's not something you can refine at your current level. Even I can't succeed every time. After all, the styles are different. The style is quite different. There are also schools of pharmacists, which are more obvious among pharmacists above the expert level, especially master level potions, which often have different focuses and unique skills. Eminem learned it from Grandma Ike, but Eminem's genre tendency is not obvious, because Grandma Leixi attaches great importance to the basics when teaching Eminem, and Eminem is indeed an all-rounder. When it comes to pharmacists, in Grandma Lexi's view, before reaching the master level, it is considered basic and not fundamental. Don't be biased, really? What's it called? Amu was stunned when he heard this, and couldn't help but ask one more question. What's it called? By the way, the elixir of fortune should be called this. If you see a person named Horace in the future, you can ask him for advice. Grandma Lexi said after recalling it. Slim Shady, this Master Horace, isn't he a professor at Hogwarts? Amu couldn't help but ask. This professor's name is at most familiar to Eminem, but to say blessing elixir is too impressive. Oh, you really learned a lot about it when you were traveling. That's right. Did you learn about it from that little wolf? Grandma Lexi only thought that Eminem learned about the wizard from the little wolf. As for Grandma Rexy knowing about wizards, that's even less surprising. The matter of wizards is not a secret to real experts. Not to mention, wizards also have the category of potion masters, which can be regarded as a genre of pharmacist. Some potion masters even have official pharmacist certifications from the Alliance. Grandma Lexi has communicated with some veteran potion masters, and she also within reason, can fueling potion really change a person's luck? Amu asked curiously. It should be possible, right? It is said that after someone drinks it, they will not be added to the negative status when fighting against that brat of Alchemy Emperor. Grandma Lazy naturally called Alchemy Emperor the brat. Compared to Grandma Biloxi, Dandy is indeed not that old. Only Eminem still wants to complain. What the hell is not being attached to negative status when fighting against Alchemy Emperor? If the additional effects don't take effect, does it count as strong luck? If you meet him with normal luck, you will definitely get negative effects, right? But when Eminem thought about it, he understood It must be some special ability, right? As a two-time champion of the Global Masters, Dandy has some terrifying abilities, which is indeed reasonable. After that, Eminem rested for 2 days in Sangzhou town. On the 19th, before the Sanxiano was about to leave the Light Red Port, Eminem boarded the ship at the Light Red Port. Note 1. This result is almost the same as the unanimated national competition chapter of Slam Dunk. First, they tried their skills in a small way, and then competed with the old champion and top seed Sano Industries to win miserably. Later, they were eliminated due to excessive consumption disuse. Sakuragi Hinamichi was also injured in the Sano industry after that. It was combined with the character of Teppei Kiyoshi. It just happened that in Kuroko's basketball, the second-year main force Teppei Kiyoshi was seriously injured and recuperated before the Winter Games. Chapter 390 Boarding the Ship. On September 19th, before the Santanu left Light Red City, Eminem finally boarded the ship. Hello guest, I'm a flight attendant on the Kanto section of this flight. Your VIP cabin is over there and turn right. The ticket checker reacted a little strangely when he saw Eminem. Eminem looked carefully and found that this person looked familiar, but Eminem was slightly blind and needed a moment to react. Zio AI, who was holding to GP on the side, reminded in a low voice, Team Rocket. It suddenly dawned on Eminem that, if he saw it correctly, it should be Kojiro wearing sunglasses and changing clothes. Team Rocket asked you to blow up the ship? Eminem asked in surprise. I'm not a fire. You're blowing up the ship. You're slandering. Kojiro just wanted to deny what happened to Team Rocket, but when he heard Eminem say something even more shocking, he didn't bother to deny his identity. From Kojiro's point of view, this guy is simply crazy. Who dares to frame me for blowing up the ship? Kojiro, what's wrong? Sakaki's voice came over at this time. Originally, after Sakaki discovered Eminem, he didn't want to get close at all, but he saw this guy struggling with Kojiro, so he reluctantly came over. I always felt that every time I saw this guy, something bad happened. When Eminem saw Sakaki, he couldn't help but take a step back. He had a bad hand in drawing lots twice with Sakaki, so this guy must be messing with me. At this moment, both of them seemed to see the disgust in each other's eyes. Boss, Sakaki, this guy slandered us. He said we were going to blow up the ship. Kojiro said immediately. At this time, there was originally no one at the VIP ticket check-in area, but when Kojiro shouted, many people looked over after being glared at by Sakaki. Kojiro changed his words and said, I mean, Boss Sakaki, okay, go and get busy. Sakaki's face turned dark, and he stopped him from continuing to grin. Before leaving, Kojiro glanced at Eminem resentfully, and then served the next guest with a smile on his face. Hello guest, I'm a member of Team Rocket on the Kanto leg of this flight. Cough, I says Sakaki. Eminem, Zioe. Sakaki took a deep breath, and pretended that he hadn't heard Kojiro's nonsense. Then he asked, did you hear that there is someone who would engage in terrorist activities on the Santino? I heard that Team Rocket was going to blow up the ship. I forgot where I heard it. Eminem said confidently. Sakaki, Zio AI stood aside and rolled her eyes at Eminem's statement. She had been with Eminem these past few days, so why didn't she hear such rumors? She only thought that Eminem was just trying to take revenge on the lottery. Now Eminem believes that even if someone wants to blow up the ship, it must not be Sakaki, because it seems that at least in the Kanto section, Team Rocket has taken over part of the affairs of the Santino. But if there are really ship bombers, there is a high probability that they are people related to the Rockets, and the target is probably Sakaki in the Rockets. You know, the candidate for the new champion will be announced soon. Sakaki probably wants to hype it one last time. Even if the ship sinks, Sakaki's personal safety will not be affected. After all, his giant needle beak can carry him around the world without any problem. However, if a major safety incident occurs at this time, Sakaki's championship dream will be shattered. Okay, I understand what you mean. You don't have to worry. The safety of this ship is now under the responsibility of our rocket team. No one can let this ship sink in the waters of Kanto. Sakaki said firmly. Poke. Zyrobo flicked his tongue at this moment, and he didn't know if he was supporting Sakaki. Eminem felt sensitively that there was murderous intent in Sakaki's words, and probably he also sensed something. Amu, Zyro AI. This way. Yuanzi's voice came over at this time point. When Eminem turned his head, he saw Yuanzi, Zyroksha, and Zyallen leading Conan, Slim Shady, Poke. Zyrobo didn't know whether it was because he saw Dad or his nemesis, so he shouted a little more urgently. At this moment, a familiar voice came from the other side. Amu, is Eminem here? Zyrozi was looking around on the deck after noticing it. Beside him was Zyroheo, who was walking with a slight limp. Slim Shady, Poke. Zyrobo shouted, a little unable to do what he wanted. I caught up. Uncle Kagoro, please sober up first. At this moment, Ryuichi Narubuto, carrying the drunken Kagoro on his back, got on the boat last. They didn't bring any luggage. They were probably on the ship before, but during the 2 days they docked at the port, Kagoro went down to drink heavily. Really? Dad, you've troubled brother long again. Mom didn't come because she had something to do, and you drank every day again. Seeing this, Zyallen hurried over and complained while picking up her father. Hey, that old woman is here. I drink like this too. Kagoro muttered drunkenly. It seemed that Zyallen's plan didn't work, as her mother was not invited. No, I owe it to teacher Yingli to take care of me more. Long Yi said politely from the side. Slim Shady, Bo. Kibi. Zyrobo fainted a little. What's wrong? Sakaki suddenly felt that Eminem's eyes were full of doubts when he looked at him, as if his assurance was not strong at all. It's nothing. Eminem thought it would be better for him to do something. Look at you, a bunch of beep people. I wouldn't be surprised if you encounter a freestyle Grelden tomorrow and knock your boat out. To GP. Already looks like it's covered with dark clouds. At this moment, Yumi, who was here for some reason, noticed the situation here and came over and said, huh, Eminem, Master Sakaki, what's wrong with you? It's nothing. Master Sakaki is too polite. I don't blame him for the draw. Amu changed the topic while looking at Yumi in uniform with confusion. Sakaki, why are you here? Eminem asked. He is still wearing his uniform, which means this is a business trip, not a vacation. Of course I'm here to take charge of the safety of the Kanto leg. Yumi said with her head held high. Well, when the Sentino is sailing around the world, in addition to the Junsha stationed in Sinop, there will also be local Junsha escorts in various regions. After all, there are only 4 to 5,000 passengers on the ship, and there is a huge flow of traffic wherever it goes. It is completely a small society. You're not going to be promoted again, are you? Eminem said in surprise. Generally speaking, this is a job with excellent gold plating effect, especially this time. Sakaki obviously wanted to use this matter to create hype. Low-key. The headquarters is for the safety of the flight, so it allows me to do my job in the future. Yumi waved her hand without being low-key at all. Poke. Zyrobo didn't even want to speak anymore. Chapter 391. Your sister doesn't like painters, right? After Amu boarded the ship, Zyroksha, Yuanzi and others organized a small welcome party in Yuanzi's room. In fact, it was just an excuse to eat and drink. Congratulations. Although the next team lost, at least Cuba team qualified. Yuanzi specially encouraged Eminem. Sister Sonoko, have you forgotten that you are from Didon High School? Conan couldn't help but roll his eyes. Is it really okay for you to stay here to celebrate Cuba High School's victory over Didon High School? Ahem. Kid, you don't understand the spirit of sports competition. Yuanzi said disdainfully. Conan, although they only prepared a variety of snacks and drinks, Sonoko specially ate less of the lunch at the luxurious restaurant for this purpose. Huh. Your room is so big. Eminem sighed after coming in. Although it can't be compared with a hotel. After all, it is on a cruise ship and the room is not too big, but it is still bigger than Eminem's. It seems that VIP cabins are also divided into levels. I didn't want to book this kind of hotel at first, but my sister was also on board, and after arriving in Kauai City, my mother planned an event, so we all booked a large room. Sonoko explained. Sister Ayako is here too. I need to say hello later. Eminem was still very polite. It's Best not to do it now. My sister is in a bad mood recently. Yuanzi trembled and whispered to Eminem. Eminem was a little surprised when he heard this. After all, in his impression, Ayako was different from Sonoko, who usually looked very gentle. Of course, Eminem didn't inquire about other people's personal affairs. After all, he and Ayako were not very close. But Sonoko herself started talking loudly. It seems that my fiancé did something to make me unhappy. Conan secretly cursed a mother-in-law on the side, but his little ears still stuck up. Miss Ayako's fiancé is also on the boat? Amu asked curiously. Yes. She is the heir of Fuse Group, and the marriage has been arranged since childhood. Sonoko immediately confided. Zaraksha guessed at the side. We are engaged. Could it be that Miss Ayako doesn't like it? Isn't it possible? I remember my sister and her fiancé were childhood sweethearts when we were young, but we haven't seen each other for a while. Yuanzi recalled. Then Sonoko laughed strangely, and while Conan secretly said it's not good, Sonoko had already said, Xiaolan, you see, even if we are childhood sweethearts, as long as we don't see each other for a long time, it's nothing. What did you say about Shinichi? Big pig hoof, are you chatting happily with some little girl, Conan? At this moment, Eminem suddenly remembered, Miss Ayako's fiancé's family, is it a human tragedy? Ah. The Fuse family triplets? Eminem asked quickly. Although I can't remember the details, it seems that the head of the Tomizawa family was killed by his son. The three sons look exactly the same, so even if they are witnessed, it is impossible to determine which one is the murderer. Of course, Eminem doesn't remember who the murderer is, but he just remembers that it's not Ayako's fiancé. Triples? No. It seems that they are indeed three children, but their appearance is still different. The one who is engaged to the elder sister is Tatsuji. Sonoko shook her head. Huh. The second child is the heir. Eminem was stunned when he heard this. He wouldn't be called dad. He is actually the boss, right? Those parents are so naughty. Yes, I heard that his eldest brother aspires to be a writer. Like my brother, he usually does not participate in the group's affairs. Yuanzi said matter-of-factly. When he heard it was writer, Eminem's memory was further revived. It seems that the murderer in the original work was the writer's son, right? The motive for the crime was that, in order to force the writer's son to give up writing, the father contacted publishing houses to ban him. But now it sounds from Yuanzi that things are not so rigid. Maybe this world doesn't have this set of scripts. Suddenly Eminem looked tense and said, wait a minute, your sister doesn't like painters, right? Huh? Yuanzi looked at Amu with a puzzled expression. Ahem, it's nothing. When I see Sister Ayako, I'll go and persuade her. I'm good at persuading others. Eminem thought for a while. Miss Ayako should not be this kind of person. It's just that there is a young woman on this broken ship, and she has a conflict with her fiancé. It is really a worrying thing. Zaraksha gave Eminem a surprised look, as if to say, it's none of your business if an unmarried couple has a conflict. Eminem saw the look in Zaraksha's eyes and muttered in a low voice, I'm doing this for everyone's safety, otherwise I wouldn't be surprised if the frozen bird comes. Others didn't hear very well. Zaraksha was also playing with little GP at this time and didn't take it to heart. By the way, has your bankerless egg hatched? Zaraksha asked curiously. Of course not yet. Let's wait until we go out to sea. Eminem shook his head. Now the boat is heading to Kauai City, which is in Kauai Bay sandwiched between the east and west passes. If Yalkilis were born now, it would still be considered as being conquered in the Kanto region. There is a record on the Pokeball. After leaving the Deadleaf City and sailing out of the Deadleaf Bay, even if it is still near Kanto, it is still considered the open sea, or the public sea area of the Quartz Alliance. The Pokémon captured there, Kanto and Johto recognized as a local Pokémon. The Bangerous egg was not hatched in the Quartz Plateau before, but now Eminem is not in a hurry to hatch it, and keeps it in the Pokeball. As for the Polygon egg situation, Eminem was also a little confused. Originally, Eminem checked the information, and found that the Polygon egg was pure data, before it was hatched. It is said that when it is stored in a USB flash drive, as long as the USB flash drive is plugged into the computer, you can see the amount of data inside increase little by little. unable to operate during this period. When it reaches about 365 megabytes, it can be hatched. Eminem has seen the USB flash drive that Jamming gave him before. The amount of data in it has exceeded 2G, but there is no sign of hatching anything at all. However, Polygon is considered a normal type Pokémon, and its compatibility with Eminem is not very high. Eminem asked you and Jamming about Polygon just out of curiosity, so seeing that the amount of data is still there, it was increasing steadily, so the egg seemed to be in no danger, so I didn't think much about it. By the way, the baby cup is still being held on the ship. It's organized by Team Rocket and the Viridian Gym. The winning rewards are huge. Don't you want to take a look? Sonoko took the initiative to ask. Baby Cup is a folk name, and the conventional rules refer to competitions with restrictions such as using Pokémon below level 50 to compete. Forget it, I usually have to train more Pokémon, and in the sea, well, I just competed in Quartz City for so long, so I won't continue competing. Eminem shook his head. In the sea, Eminem also wanted to try the ability of the Dragon Scale Talisman, and it was organized by that guy Sakaki. Eminem felt that he was at odds with her, so he must be doing something wrong by participating. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392, Dragon Scale Talisman. In the middle of the night, on the deck of the Santa Anu, a young man wearing a beret with blue-green hair vaguely visible under the brim, was looking at the dark sea with a serious face. At this time, there was a sound of footsteps, and it was Sakaki walking over. Lance, what's wrong? Sakaki asked the beret young man. Boss, I feel that the sea has been a little weird these past 2 days. The young man known as Lance finally recovered, and quickly turned around and said, weird. Sakaki frowned upon hearing this. It seems that there is someone who communicates intensively with Pokémon in the surrounding seas at night, Lance said uncertainly. Although Lance's tone was uncertain, Sakaki was still secretly interested. After all, Lance is Sakaki's right-hand man, one of the 7 generals. Even Sachi is only on the same level as him. The 3 beasts are also 3 of the 7 generals, but because the other 4 are old subordinates of Team Rocket, the 3 beasts are 3 cadres who joined the team halfway. So there is an additional term, 3 beasts. And Lance is the king of water Pokémon. 2 days in a row, Now there are crouching tigers and hidden dragons on the ship. Please pay more attention. If there is any real change, report to me in time. Sakaki said seriously. This is the only way to go first. After all, Sakaki doesn't know what the other party's purpose is. People communicate with wild Pokémon in the sea. What does it have to do with you, Sakaki? However, these are extraordinary times, and Sakaki still wants to confirm the other party's details to determine its purpose. Along the way of sailing in Kanto, official owners and important figures who supported Sakaki kept coming on board to support him. Now even the public can see that Sakaki is building momentum. The 7 generals of the Rockets, such as Lance, have already made their identities known. Excluding Sachi, of course, as the Rockets have cut ties with her. Among the 3 major cadres, Aju is also boarding the ship at the Light Red port, and Nazi is expected to board the ship at the Dryleaf port. However, ordinary people are not aware of their relationship with Team Rocket. As for Mazishi, even if he comes out now and says that he is a cadre of Team Rocket, Sakaki will not admit it. At this critical moment, there is an unknown water Pokémon master boarding the ship, and he is planning something every night. Of course, Sakaki has to worry about whether he is plotting against himself. The faces of water Pokémon masters flashed through Sakaki's mind. Unfortunately, he has no clue now. As for Lance, he only vaguely felt the fluctuations of communication. Even with his affinity as a water Pokémon master, not a single Pokémon in the sea told him what happened. At the same time, Eminem was in his room, testing the ability of the god of the sea, attached to the Dragon Scale Talisman, not knowing that his actions were causing the general of Team Rocket and even Sakaki to feel uneasy. Dragon Scale Talisman, has two abilities, God of the Sea, and Dragon Ancestor, which should correspond to the two identities of Kaoparis after stimulating the Dragon Scale Talisman. In his consciousness, Amu can see the Sea Pokémon and Dragon Pokémon within a certain range around him. It was only at this time that Eminem discovered that the scope of action of Dragon Ancestor was not limited to dragon, but all dragons. Gyarados also counted. Eminem even felt the impact on the ship. Charizard. Eminem's energy consumption is also in this process as for ordering them. It doesn't cost much. It's like showing a token. Eminem has to take out the token himself, but after taking it out, the role of the token has nothing to do with Eminem. This is why Eminem feels that Dragon Scale Talisman is not like an ability, but more like a PowerPoint. However, the limit of what Eminem can forcefully command is almost the king level. For Pokémon with higher strength, the opponent can leave, even if Amu orders it. Point in the words of Kaoparis, the former is entirely due to Amu himself, and the latter is the manifestation of its token's ability. Even the weaker mythical beasts cannot directly defy the power of the Dragon Scale Talisman, but Eminem does not have the ability to hold the token in front of others, so they can pretend not to see it, turn around and leave. In addition, even if the order is forcibly ordered, the strength of the order is not absolute. For example, a king level Pokémon can be ordered by Eminem, but cannot be forcibly subdued. A quasi-king level Pokémon will also escape when life is in danger, just like an imperial envoy with a sword of Shangfang. He can make local officials temporarily obey orders, but he cannot force people to become domestic slaves, and it is difficult to make people fight for their lives. Pokémon with a trainer will also be affected by the trainer's will. It is not easy to make people betray you. It is not only a matter of the Pokémon's strength and personality, but also involves a bond with the trainer. Of course, as long as Eminem does not seek death, these two types of Pokémon cannot attack Eminem, so Eminem always feels that he is very shameful, otherwise he will not be called a little wolf. Ado is here, and aren't I just 50 over 50? In addition, Amu discovered that Pokémon such as Big-billed Gull, although they are not in the sea, but rely on the sea for food, will also be affected by the power of the God of the Sea. However, in contrast, most of the other flying Pokémon that are also flying on the sea cannot be felt by Amu. That is, they are not within the range of influence of the God of the Sea. Eminem guessed that it requires a certain degree of dependence on the sea. For example, Pokémon that hunt on the island and occasionally fly on the sea are not considered sea Pokémon. At the same time, most of the water Pokémon that the trainer has conquered are not within the scope of the God of the Sea's orders, unless they have just been conquered recently. Point it is probably because the Pokémon that were tamed by humans did not live in the sea or rely on the sea for a long time. It may even have been artificially bred in a breeding house. This type of Pokémon once lived in the sea and will not pay attention to God of the Sea. Compared with this, when dealing with other trainers, Dragon Ancestor actually has a wider scope of application. After all, a dragon Pokémon is still a dragon Pokémon, even if it is subdued, and its bloodline will not change. However, in the wild environment, especially on the sea, the scope of application of Sea God is definitely much wider. After all, most dragon Pokémon are rare in the wild, and almost all Pokémon in the ocean fall into the category of sea Pokémon. Eminem felt a little more relieved at this time. If the ship is really going to sink, as long as there is enough time, at least I can call a group of sea Pokémon to save the ship. Chapter 393, The Power of a Shock. On September 20th, the Santanews Alliance 200th annual voyage around the world arrived at Dryleaf Port in Dryleaf Bay in the Kanto region. This also means that the Santanews has completed the first half of its circumnavigation of the Kanto leg point. After leaving the Deadleaf Port on the 22nd, the Santanews will leave the Deadleaf Bay and the offshore sea all the way to the 7 islands south of Kanto Point. During these 3 days of docking in Kauai City, Eminem naturally got off the ship. Not only did he have to make repairs in Kauai City, but more importantly, Eminem also had to take the time to go to Golden City to settle down Ake, and at the same time, he also wanted to. I want to ask Nazi about the harvest sacrifice, but I don't know if I can see this humanoid who, ahem. This super queen, of course. When he disembarked in Kauai City on the 20th, Eminem went to Kauai Hospital first and took a look at Hanamichi, who was still recovering from his injuries. His hooded gangster has long since recovered. But as a human, the recovery speed of the injury cannot be compared with that of Pokémon. He will probably not be able to fully recover until this time next year. When Eminem came over, he happened to see Haruko also there. As soon as Eminem opened the door, Haruko stood up immediately. Eminem didn't stay long. After visiting Hanamichi and finding that he was quite happy, he immediately caught the afternoon flight and arrived at Golden City, which is not far away. Well, by the way, I sent a text message to Captain Goken, telling him that I had just visited Hanamichi and asked him to rest assured about Hanamichi's injury. Oh, by the way, I happened to see your sister Zyloxia and others did not follow, and Eminem also asked them to buy some things for him to use when traveling to the sea. Only ZyoAI accompanied Eminem on a daily basis. After arriving in Golden City, Eminem took ZyoAI to rest for a night at the Pokémon Center, and then rushed to the Golden Gym early the next morning. Are you Eminem? The receptionist recognized Eminem directly. In fact, if Eminem was holding to GP at this time, more people would be able to recognize him. Even if they haven't watched the game, they have always seen his emoticons. But now Pokepi is being held by ZyoAI. In ZyoAI's words, this is to prevent his luck from being implicated by Eminem. Yes, I want to meet the owner of Nazis Hall and express my gratitude to her. If that doesn't work, I might as well meet Azzy first. Amu responded sarcastically, because he could see in the other person's eyes that it was not admiration, but it's like looking at rare animals. Obviously this is not his powerful fan miss. Azzy, let me contact you, the receptionist said immediately. You automatically ignored Eminem's words about wanting to see the owner of Nazis Hall. Does the owner want to meet you whenever you want? After all, Nazi is the benchmark for super type trainers in the world. Let alone a potential newcomer. Even if the super type king comes, he may not be able to see it. Azzy is easily seen by Eminem. Although she is 1 year younger than Zyloxia and Yuanzi, Azzy is not only very strong, but also has the rebellious look of middle-aged girl. Eminem doesn't know where she offended her. It seems like she wants to look at herself through her nostrils every time. You here to repair little Cassie? Well, I guess you took good care of her. As he didn't discount the compliment. That's what Nazi said. After watching Eminem's game a few days ago. Of course, Nazi only watched the games in which Kathy played, and only glanced at the games against Eminem. Well, I also want to meet the owner of the Nazi Hall, or maybe meet Nana. Eminem made a request. What did you say? Azzy was stunned when he heard this. She originally thought that Nana was the name given to sister by Eminem, who was wishful thinking. Shameless, incorruptible, and shameless. Why does it sound like two people now? Well, Eminem really doesn't know yet that the Nana he has met is actually Nazi. Just changed the hair color and eye color, and slightly adjusted the facial features. Eminem was also confused. Why did Azzy's reaction not seem like a general rejection, but more like hesitation? Ahem. It's nothing. Well, my sister doesn't usually see outsiders. If you definitely want to see her, you can go to the central tower. Azzy rolled her eyes and said after saying that, before Eminem could ask any more questions, Azzy had already teleported away from Gardevoir beside her. Being able to teleport together with the help of Pokémon is undoubtedly the pinnacle of personal superpowers. Of course, Azzy was still young after all, so she just pretended to be a little bit. In fact, she just teleported outside the room, where she met Eminem in the corridor. As he jumped up and down, hummed the tune Long Live Sister and left. Just when he came out, he saw a little girl holding to GP and looking directly at him. As he coughed twice, pretended to be dignified, and walked away. Well, it is true that Onisama usually arranges tests for people who want to see her. If Eminem can really get to the top of the central tower, he has passed the test, or Onisama wants to see him. This doesn't count as me, Azzy, lying, but if you can't pass the test, you will have to suffer a lot. As for my sister, she takes the initiative to see him. Think about it, Onisama is waiting for a visitor. Wait. Amu also thought that Az's statement was a bit strange, but he left before asking her in detail. After leaving the super tower where Azi was, Eminem saw ZioAI waiting outside and said, "Let's go to the highest tower." Huh. Are you sure that Master Nazi has met you? ZioAI asked doubtfully. Although she doesn't know the owner of Nazi Hall, in her common sense impression, it is not easy to see a super queen with superpowers and temperament that are different from ordinary people. It should be. Amu also felt that Az's words were unclear, but Eminem didn't back down at this time. What happened to Super Queen? We are based on the rule of law. Can she still turn me into a doll? As Eminem walked towards the tall tower at the back of the gym, he contacted Zyarksha and others in the illustrated book and told them that he was going to see Nazi. He also pretended to be casual and told Yumi. Well, although it is called the Central Tower, it is actually at the very back of the gym. When Eminem came here, he found that there were no people around. Even when I saw Eminem walking this way on the road, the other people's eyes looked weird. When he walked to the independent courtyard at the end, Eminem had a vague feeling that he had arrived at an independent space. Arriving at the front door, Eminem found that the door was tightly closed, and even after pushing it, there was no response. To be precise, I didn't even see a slight shaking or a crack in the door. ZioAI saw that there seemed to be a groove under the door, so she speculated this should be a door that needs to be raised using telekinesis, right? Then ZioAI turned to look at Eminem with an expression like, "Are you sure they want to see you?" When Eminem was feeling guilty and embarrassed, there was a sudden thunder. It was clear that the sky was cloudless, but the thunder came so fast that it even frightened Eminem. Ahem. The power of a shock is even this. Eminem changed the subject. ZioAI obviously didn't understand this idea. But at this moment, Eminem suddenly saw there seemed to be smoke coming from the tower. Could it be that Nazi was struck by lightning? At this time, many trainers from the gym were also recruited, and ZioAI suddenly felt a heart palpitation. She instinctively pulled Eminem and hid behind the tower first. Only before the gym trainer outside could hesitate to open the door without permission, the heavy sound of the door opened. "It's just a small experiment. You all should perform your duties and don't pay attention to it." A somewhat familiar voice sounded. "Is it Nana?" Just when Eminem wanted to go out, ZioAI held him tightly. Eminem was about to speak, but found that ZioAI's face was very ugly, so he stopped thinking for the time being. Chapter 394. Another little girl. Eminem doesn't understand why ZioAI is trying to hide from her. Is it possible that some people still misunderstand that he murdered the owner of Nazi Hall? Later, when Eminem was behind the tower, he heard someone coming out to comfort other gym trainers. The voice sounded like Nana, so he quickly wanted to show up, but was held back by ZioAI. "What's wrong?" Eminem moved his lips. ZioAI didn't answer either, but her face was extremely ugly. On the other side, Nana seemed to have calmed down the gym trainer who came to see what was going on. After the others left, Nana said, "Who is it? Come out." Seeing that he had been discovered, Eminem also walked out. It's me. I'm just looking for you." Eminem walked out from behind the tower at this time, but suddenly, I discovered that the person standing in front of the tower was not Nana, but with long gray hair and red pupils. This is Nazi. Eminem had only seen Nazi in videos and photos, but because of her obvious features, he immediately recognized her. After seeing herself, Eminem suddenly discovered that she and Nana look alike. This is something you can't see in photos and pictures, and the sound is exactly the same. Eminem is still very sensitive to speaking sounds, probably because of face blindness. When Nazi saw Eminem, she was also surprised for a moment, but her eyes only trembled slightly, and then she immediately covered it up. "Looking for me?" Nazi's attitude was a bit playful. But Eminem immediately said, No, I recognize the wrong person." Because Eminem was also surprised. He didn't find anything wrong with Nazi's attitude. Immediately, Eminem also thought, could it be that Nana and Nazi are actually sisters? I'm here to find Nana. I didn't know that she also wants to find the owner of Nazi Hall. Eminem explained quickly. "Oh, Nana, Heh, what do you want to see me for? As soon as Nazi opened her mouth, she heard some noise coming from behind the tower. Nazi immediately frowned and said, who else is here? Oh, by the way, I haven't introduced her to you yet. She is a little shy. Eminem stepped back at this time, preparing to bring out the shy Zio AI point. As a result, when I turned around, I found that Zio AI was gone. Only Ziobo remained in place. At the same time, behind the GP, Eminem also saw a slightly crooked cover of the ventilation duct, the size of a dog hole. For an average adult, no matter how slim he is. And it's impossible to get in point. Although these super towers look very fantasy, they still need exhaust ducts after all. After all, there are very few windows. Obviously Zio AI is. Eminem didn't understand why Zio AI had such a big reaction. But when things come to a close, Eminem can only, what's wrong? Nazi also walked in at this time. It's nothing. Eminem bent down to pick up little to GP and pressed the iron gate completely shut. When Nazi came over, she only saw Eminem holding Ziobo Kibi in front of him and saying, here, this is Ziobo, a little shy. Nazi, looking at Nazi's speechless eyes, Eminem was also a little embarrassed. Actually, I just want to ask for some mysterious knowledge about the earth and harvest. The Golden Gym is not a superpower gym with mystical disciplines. Nazi's face darkened coldly. Eminem has never really studied it before. Is it so detailed in super type gyms? Then, I wonder where Nana is now? On the one hand, Eminem still wanted to find Nana, whom he knew, and asked again. But on the other hand, he also wanted to delay time. After all, Zio AI doesn't know what to do in there right now. Could it be that, because he has been in contact with Conan too much, he has also acquired the attributes of a naughty child? She is not in the dojo, Nazi said coldly, without explaining in detail. This is the super gym. If you have nothing to do, please help yourself. After finishing speaking, Nazi turned around and walked back. Sure enough, the door was opened with mind power, and Nazi's hair moved automatically without wind, and at the same time, the heavy door actually lifted up on its own. Seeing that Nazi was trying to chase away the guests, Eminem didn't dare to follow her. But at this moment, Eminem also instinctively noticed that someone seemed to be looking at him. Amu immediately raised his head and looked at it, and he vaguely saw a figure flashing past the window on the top floor of the tower. It seemed that he flashed back after realizing that he had noticed it. Eminem couldn't help but frown. What's going on? Is there anyone else in Nazi's super tower? And he's still sneaky and seems to be hostile to himself, although it was only a fleeting moment and the other person was still wearing a cloak and did not show his face. But how keen are Eminem's eyes? I still found that this person didn't look like Nana or Azzy in terms of figure. He should be a burly man, and Eminem had a vague feeling that he had seen this person somewhere. Obviously I didn't see the face, so I must have seen this outfit and figure. Eminem didn't remember why he looked familiar. Well, if you see the face, Eminem may not look familiar. Before Eminem could come up with any results, suddenly there was another slight sound from behind the tower. It seemed that the iron gate was opened again. Eminem ran over quickly, only to see Zio AI. What are you doing? Huh? Eminem's pupils shrank, and what came out of the vent was a little girl wearing a pink vest and leggings. It was said to be a small vest and leggings, but in fact, it was very loose on her body, as if she was wearing adult clothes. Who are you? Wait, are you Nana? Eminem discovered that this little girl looked very similar to Nana. Although she looks like Nana or Nazi, her hair color and eye color are obviously different. And judging from the facial features, although she also looks like a little girl, she looks more like Nana in comparison. When he saw Eminem, he was obviously a little panicked, which made him look even less like a little girl. Zio AI followed closely and came out of the ventilation duct. Taking advantage of Zio AI's experience, Eminem easily thought that this little girl was not young at all. This adult expression on her face, Eminem had only seen it on the faces of two children. You are Nana, right? Were you also radiated by AP 9527? Eminem said in surprise. When Zio AI heard this, she shook her lips and said, that's called APTX 4869. And she's not. No, let's not talk about this first. We have to get out of here first. Eminem was confused at this time, but he also understood that something must have happened, so he had to take them away first. In an instant, Eminem's mind was filled with plots such as sisters turn back, clone out of control, etc. Chapter 395 Sneak Attack. What's going on? You want to tell me, has Nazi disappeared? In the Golden Gym, in the meditation hall on the top of the central tower, Saki was wearing Nazi's clothes and shouted at Mazishi. Mazishi also had a serious look on his face at this time, and next to him, there was a middle-aged uncle with purple hair who was unconscious just now. Mazishi teamed up with Saki to sneak attack on Nazi, although Mazishi, Nazi and Aju are the three top carders of the Rockets. Nazi is not familiar with the other 2. Nazi joined Team Rocket 10 years ago, when she was 16 years old, under the recommendation of Sakaki, who had just become the bosses for Mazishi and Aju. They are veterans of 2 dynasties who have served the Rockets when Sakaki's mother was the boss. Nazi and these old people usually don't have much personal friendship. Therefore, after Mazishi suspected of rebellion, Nazi was still wary of him. But, Nazi did not expect that Lambda, one of the 7 generals, also participated in the rebellion, pretending to be a trainer from other gyms, leading Azzy away, so that she did not receive Nazi's order, while Sachi pretended to be a trainer from other gyms. He captured Azzy and led Mazishi to the central tower at this moment, as he only knew that her elder sister was visiting guests, but she did not know that someone was pretending to be herself. As a result, Saki released Dark Ray first. Although it failed to hypnotize Nazi instantly, it also greatly interfered with Nazi's performance. Immediately afterwards, Mazishi also released his trump card for rebellion. Nazi was caught off guard, and she only had time to release Hoodie, or in other words, Nazi's Hoodie was connected with her. After realizing that Nazi was in danger, she took the initiative to break free from the elf ballpoint, but at this moment, Lambda, who had deceived the real Azzy, had also rushed over. Nazi was already outnumbered due to being attacked first, and Lambda, the last straw, came over, which made Nazi even more vulnerable. Couldn't even escape. However, the strength of Nazi's resistance was beyond the expectations of the 3 of them. Seeing the momentum created, other gym trainers were attracted. Seeing this, Saki quickly put on Nazi's clothes and mask that had been prepared long ago, pretended to be Nazi's classic look, and deceived the gym trainers who came over. Because of the Golden Gym among the trainers, there was more than one Mazishi lurking, so it was easy to dispel everyone's suspicions, and did not see the flaws in the fake Nazi. But then Sachi discovered that there was someone else there, and it was Eminem. The moment he saw Eminem, Saki almost ran away. Could he catch me here? Fortunately, she also saw immediately that Eminem didn't know Nazi, but just came to ask some questions from some unknown Nana. So I dealt with Eminem casually, but just when Eminem stood up from below, Mazishi also walked out of the meditation hall out of worry, and came to the window of the corridor, on guard that, if Saki took action, he would also take action from above. It was this hostility that attracted Eminem's attention. Seeing this, Mazishi quickly retreated. Immediately afterwards, Saki was worried that Eminem would see something, so he immediately left without looking back. Sure enough, Eminem didn't bother with Nazi anymore. After being seen by Eminem once, Mazishi did not dare to observe Eminem directly from the tower. Instead, he and Saki lurked inside the door. If Eminem forced his way in to check, he would face the 2 of them jointly launched a sneak attack. But at this moment, Eminem had already led his 2 children and left the Golden Gym. The hemp pole beats the wolf with both ends afraid. After confirming that Eminem had left, both parties breathed a sigh of relief. But at this time, Saki and Mazishi discovered that Lambda, who was guarding the restrained Nazi, actually fainted here, and Nazi had long since disappeared, leaving only her coat. There are also mind-suppressing handcuffs that have not been opened. Seeing this scene, let alone Saki, Mazishi's face darkened. If Nazi really fully recovered, then his plan would not go smoothly. At this time, Mazishi electrocuted Lambda to wake him up. Lambda is also one of the 7 generals, and like Belmont, he is a cross-dressing expert. It's just that Lambda and Mazishi only recently learn that Sachi can actually cross-dress, and they only know that she is an undercover agent of Team Galaxy, but they don't know her identity and Team Flare point from this. The two of them have not thought about whether Saki is not her true identity at all, or even, maybe not her true gender? After all, Radam also dressed as a woman, but now that both parties have the same purpose, they have a tacit understanding that they have never mentioned this matter, and they have never seen the true appearance of Saki point in terms of strength. Radam is actually pretty good, but he is definitely not comparable to Nazi. There is also a clear gap between him and Masashi, who has mastered the killer weapon, and Sachi, who can control Dark Ray point. After Adam woke up, he was also in a panic. What's going on? Masashi asked with a dark face. How do I know? Didn't you say that the telekinesis suppressing handcuffs are foolproof? She attacked me just after you left. Lambda was also wronged point according to what he said. When he turned his head, he only remembered a pair of scarlet pupils coming into his eyes, and then he fell into a coma. His Pokémon also fell to the ground. Masashi also looked at Sachi at this time, and saw that she was checking the mind-suppressing handcuffs that were not opened. They looked very technological, not made of metal, but more like two instruments worn on the wrists, connected together with invisible traction point. At this time, the handcuffs were not released, but the target was missing. During the previous experiment, it was possible to limit the mental power of Hoodie, who was about level 50 at most. If this can forcibly stimulate telekinesis, it seems that Nazi's superpower is stronger than we imagined, Saki said solemnly. Masashi took a deep breath. It was his plan to rectify the chaos of the rockets. Lambda was convinced by him, and Sachi cooperated with him after the galaxy's identity was exposed. So the most urgent person now is Masashi, but the situation is not at its worst yet. Although I don't know where Nazi has gone, she definitely did not escape unscathed, Saki emphasized at this time, and looked at Lambda. Otherwise, I don't think she is being soft-hearted. When Lambda heard this, he couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Indeed, as long as Fantasy still had the strength just now, she would definitely not mind filling in. Saki suddenly looked at the vent in the hall, and then seemed to think of something. After a while, Saki pretended to be an ordinary gymnasium trainer, and asked the receptionist about the unusual behavior when Eminem left. Little girl? Yes, he did leave with a little girl in his arms. The receptionist nodded. Sachi's eyes lit up, and then he asked carefully, what does that little girl look like? Is she a child from our gym? The person in front of him didn't seem to be too impressed, but at this moment, the receptionist who had welcomed Eminem in said, the child that Eminem brought? He is not from our gym. When he came in, he brought with that little girl. When Sachi heard this, his eyes became confused again. Guessed wrong. Then why did I not see any children around Eminem when I saw him before? While Saki was full of doubts, Eminem also asked Nana in confusion what happened. That's right, it was Nazi attacked me. She was jealous of my superpower talent. Nana looked at Eminem with a pulled face. At this time, he looked like I guessed it right. Now she was so tired that, even when she left the gym, she sat on Eminem's arms at the same time. Zio AI had also sneaked out and joined them. Chapter 396 Nazi. When Nazi was born, she had an explosion of telekinesis. Due to difficult labor and the lives of mother and daughter were hanging by a thread, Nazi teleported directly, and her cries stunned the medical staff who delivered the baby, and shattered the glass of the delivery room. Perhaps because of this overdraft, her telekinesis went into hibernation for a brief period during her early childhood, but as she grew up, her telekinesis began to steadily improve. When he was 6 years old, he would levitate the light furniture in his house due to emotional excitement. Throughout the entire elementary school period, Nazi's parents spent their time transferring schools and making visits to apologize. Therefore, when she was in middle school, her parents sent her to a superpower boarding school, actually a superpower gym. But compared with those superpowers, who can only bend a spoon, but not a spoon, that is too hard despite all their efforts. Nazi's telekinesis is obviously beyond the standard. Other children with superpowers and talents can hardly be said to be Nazi's same kind. On the contrary, in front of her, they are not much different from ordinary people. At the beginning, there were a lot of children who complained. Fortunately, the owner of the museum protected him. However, Nazi later discovered that the owner of the museum was using her, trying to discover her secrets, and even steal her superpowers. However, when the real experiment began, Nazi discovered the truth, seized the opportunity, and used her superpower actively and fully for the first time, although some people had been injured by her telepathy before. It was just her inadvertent behavior. With his telekinesis at full strength, the superpowered museum owner died suddenly in the laboratory and Nazi, who escaped, finally returned home in the rainy night, only to find that her parents had given birth to a younger brother, and the whole family seemed to be in harmony. Even my own photos have been replaced with new family photos. Therefore, in despair and anger, Nazi shattered the glass in her home and left straight away. After that, Nazi met Hootie. It was already Hootie at that time. Under its guidance, Nazi began to truly control, exercise and improve her superpowers. It wasn't until she was 16 that Nazi met Sakaki and joined Team Rocket. To Nazi, Sakaki is like half a father, a biological father, which is roughly equivalent to -1.5 fathers. Her own growth experience determines that Nazi has few people she trusts. If she wants to score, her trust in Sakaki is about 9. It's 100 for myself, 1 for Ozzy, and about 0.1 for other gym trainers who worship me. Normally, Nazi's superpowers are still there, and when powerful Pokémon such as UD are around, Nazi is a confident super queen. But now she has been plotted against her. In order to break free of the handcuffs, she has to mentally. The power was severely backlashed, and I was temporarily unable to use any abilities. All Pokémon except Hootie were forcibly restricted and unable to communicate. Hootie was also injured and unable to fight. In this case, Nazi's nervous side is clearly revealed. And because when she was plotted before, there was obviously cooperation from the trainers in the gym, although she now knows that there is a cross-dressing master among the enemies. But, if no one cooperates, Saki and Lambda's chance to pretend. As for the rest of Team Rocket, Nazi would not believe it even more. Under this situation, Natsu doesn't believe anyone, except Sakaki. Including Eminem. The reason why she believed in Sakaki was, firstly, because her trust level was as high as 9 points, and secondly, after all, the enemy attacked her because of their opposition to Sakaki. But for Eminem, Nazi can at least believe in one thing, that is, Eminem is indeed not in the same group as those people. But Nazi wasn't sure what Eminem's position was. So after realizing that this guy had a lot of scripts in his mind, Nazi didn't tell him the truth. I see, you and Nazi are biological sisters, and Nazi plotted against you in order to steal your spiritual power. Just when you were escaping, did you meet Zio AI? Eminem has completely believed in a rhetoric. After all, this is pretty much what I imagined. Of course, the reason why it's almost is because Nazi made it up bit by bit, based on his expectations. After looking at his face, that's so bad. I knew she wasn't a good person. Did she turn the Challenger and your mother into dolls? I've heard about it a long time ago. Eminem said angrily. Nazi? Who the hell said this? Is this what everyone outside is saying about me? Not to mention, whether he is a psychopath or not. What does it mean to turn into a doll? When Nazi heard what Eminem said, she felt quite relieved. It would be great if she really knew how to do it. What are you doing? Nazi suddenly saw that Eminem was dialing some links on the illustrated book, and she quickly recovered some physical strength, jumped up and hung up. I'll repay Junsha. Amu said confidently. This kind of female devil must repay Junsha. Nazi. No. Nazi. Are you afraid that the female devil is from Team Rocket, so the Quartz Alliance won't deal with her? Don't worry. I'll report it to Junsha, who is very familiar with me. She will never take bribes and bend the law. Eminem feels that this matter is different from the matters of Team Flash and Dark Organization. The thing about Team Flare is that everyone knows that they are bad guys. Even if they are reported to Junsha, they can't be caught. Moreover, if something happens to Junsha, they may be leaked by undercover agents from Junsha's department information. As for Nazi's matter, the target is clearly locked on Nazi. As long as Yumei withstands the pressure and pursues the case firmly, no one can protect her. The corner of Nazi's mouth twitched at this moment. I've known it for a long time. Sakaki is definitely not a good person. Maybe my signature was changed by him. Eminem said angrily. .0AI. What's the connection between these two things? You're a bit of a loser. Even if Sakaki is not a good person, he can't be responsible for all the dog poop on the roadside, right? And ZOAI always feels that this Nana is a little weird, but she already knows that she is actually an adult, but not just weird in this respect. Of course Nazi couldn't stand it. In front of her, Eminem criticized Sakaki, who was half her father, and whose trust level was as high as 9 points, just thinking that Eminem didn't know anything at all, and she couldn't let him know now. So Nazi took a deep breath, adjusted her emotions and said, I actually know Boss Sakaki. Now he is on the Santino. Come on. Just take me to see him. Huh. You don't still want Sakaki to punish her, do you? You are too naive. I think they must be in the same group. Eminem quickly persuaded. No. I mean, Nazi actually betrayed Team Rocket. Anyway, just take me to see Boss Sakaki. Nazi had no choice but to say bravely. Eminem was stunned when he heard this, but he knew about the internal strife in Team Rocket, so he nodded and said, "Hey, is that so? Okay then." Chapter 397 Figure. Originally, Eminem considered that the devil Nazi might come after him at any time, so he was ready to leave Golden City immediately. After all, KO Paris is now unable to appear completely and can only wave his arms when attacking. Although she can assist Eminem in defense, Nazi is obviously much stronger than Jin, and Eminem is still very timid. However, Nana and ZOAI both insisted on taking a normal night's rest in Jinhuang City to avoid attracting attention. Considering that he could stay at the Pokémon Center, Eminem accepted it. The female devil wouldn't dare to do anything here, right? And when entering and exiting the Pokémon Center, Nana was specially made to hide in the suitcase, so that even if someone was camping, nothing would be discovered. Early the next morning, Eminem rushed back to Kuai City from Jinhuang City. There is another little girl around. On the plane, the eldest sister next to me even praised, "Are they your sisters? They are so cute." Yeah. Eminem admitted awkwardly. To indifferent faces. JPG. Forget it. ZOAI is indeed 1 year younger than Eminem, but Nazi is much older than Eminem. I'm just a little shy. Haha. Eminem shook the corner of his mouth and said, "She's a girl. It's not like our children who always yell." The eldest sister looked very familiar. Well, they seldom cause trouble to others, but they are not very lively. Eminem chatted awkwardly with the eldest sister. "I have some candies here for my children," the eldest sister said, and took out the candies. Thank you. Eminem quickly took it, and turned to ZOAI and Nazi and said, "What should I say at this time?" ZOAI, Nazi, although they were reluctant, they also knew that it was not appropriate to attract too much attention at this time, so they said softly, "Thank you, auntie," especially Nazi. It felt like she was obviously trying to hide her own voice under ZOAI's voice. Eminem distributed the candies to the sisters with confidence, although you shouldn't eat things given by strangers. But, on the one hand, the Pokémon world is in good order without Conan appearing. On the other hand, he wanted to put medicine in the things Eminem handled, but he was blind. "You're welcome. Is this sister?" The eldest sister touched ZOAI's head and said, Yes. Eminem personally called ZOAI sister. ZOAI, Nazi actually felt weird. ZOAI knew she was Nana, but she didn't know ZOAI was Shirley, so she also felt that this little girl was a little too mature. It's just that Nazi clearly didn't feel any superpower fluctuations on her body, so she couldn't be sure Nazi's current state was achieved by her superpower, and because she was using superpower to suppress handcuffs under the shackles of, he forcibly used his superpowers, so he suffered backlash and is still recovering. Without outside help, it would take her 3 months to barely summon her Pokémon, and 6 months to recover. For Nazi and ZOAI, after suffering all the way, the plane finally landed in Kuai City. This won't work. There are a lot of people at Kuai Airport at this time, so you have to hold your sister's hand. The eldest sister reminded kindly. "Oh, that's it. Thank you." Eminem responded awkwardly, holding each other in even more embarrassment. However, after walking out of the airport and making sure that the kind-hearted elder sister was no longer visible, the two of them immediately took their hands away in disgust. I want little to GP. ZyoAI said directly. On the plane, because it was forbidden to release Pokémon, ZyoAI felt that her luck was obviously implicated, and she was harassed by the eldest sister. When Eminem heard this, he released ZyoBokiB and held her in his arms. Poke, belittle. To GP is now very familiar with ZyoAI. After rubbing against Eminem, he let ZyoAI hold him honestly. By the way, I still have time, let me go to the Dead Leaf Gym. Eminem was going to visit the gold gym leader whom he knew. No. Nana stopped her and left. The golden gym leader is not from Team Rocket. He is very nice. Eminem looked at Nana, who had a somewhat overreactive reaction in confusion. Ahem. So as not to implicate him, Nana explained forcefully. In fact, what Nazi was thinking of was that bastard Mazishi suddenly released the lightning bird and successfully attacked him. Otherwise, even if she was hypnotized first by Saki, Nazi would break free immediately. It would have been possible to counterattack at that time, and at least she would have been able to hold on a little longer or escape. But at this time, Mazishi released the lightning bird, which directly severely injured Nazi. Although there is not only one lightning bird in the world, Nazi is not sure whether it is the one following the owner of the gold hall, but this is enough to make Nazi doubt this guy. In this case, Nazi certainly couldn't let Eminem fall into a trap. But for this fool, Nazi couldn't tell the truth to stop him. She could only make up random reasons. Eminem looked like he was tentatively accepting it, but Nazi found that ZyoAI was staring at her, as if she was aware of what she was hiding. Then, let me take a look at the replacement tickets. Ah, that's great. Even if there are 2 children under 1.2 meters tall, you don't need to buy a ticket for the cabin. You only need to buy a boarding ticket. Eminem was about to take Nana also placed it in her room. She doesn't need a bed anyway. When he was at the Pokémon Center last night, Eminem saw Nana meditating on the sofa, and even she was floating slightly. When passing by the Dead Leaf Gym, Eminem took a few more glances inside. The Deadwood Gym at this time has changed a lot from when Amy came. At that time, the owner of the gym had just succeeded Mazishi and had not had time to renovate it. Judging from the fact that the gold gymnast owner directly accepted the original location of the gymnasium, he and Mazishi should know each other. Eminem suddenly remembered that when he was meeting the owner of the gold hall at Leixi, he was hit by a big man wearing a cloak. When he entered the door, that person must have just met the owner of the gold hall and bumped into Eminem when he left. Eminem hadn't remembered it at first, but now he suddenly felt that the image of that guy overlapped with the figure he saw on the central tower of the Golden Gym yesterday. By the way, besides the female devil, who else was on the tower yesterday? Amu quickly confirmed with Nana and Mazishi. That's right, that's why I knew that Nazi, that female devil, turned out to have betrayed Team Rocket. Nazi said bravely in order not to make Eminem suspicious. Is it really Mazishi? As the taxi drove away, Eminem turned his head and took another look at the Dead Leaf Gym. To sum it up, the owner of the gold hall did suddenly gather the electrical materials for making potions at that time. If Mazishi gave them to him, it would indeed make sense. After all, Mazishi himself is also a master of the electrical system and has more than one great heaven-leaking level. Electric type Pokémon. Chapter 398. A plan within a plan. In order to see Sakaki as soon as possible, after Eminem returned to Dryleaf City, he did not meet up with Zyaksha and the others. Instead, he went straight to the port and boarded the docks. And Tino, let me make sure again, do you really want to see Sakaki? Eminem asked hesitantly. Don't worry, as long as you see Boss Sakaki, Nazi insisted. In fact, after following Eminem on the boat, Nazi was preparing to get rid of him, but unfortunately she had no chance. Okay, then, if you don't come back by then, I will report to Junsha. Amu said confidently. Nazi. After Nazi heard this, she had to give up the idea of leaving without saying goodbye. After all, this is considered a family scandal for the Rockets, and Nazi still hopes to handle it internally. Although she doesn't care much about it, she also knows what Sakaki has been preparing for recently. By coincidence, as soon as Eminem came to the deck, he saw Sakaki and a young man with blue-green hair walking past together. When he saw Eminem approaching, Sakaki just nodded to him coolly. Then Sakaki focused on Nana, who had turned into a little girl, and couldn't help but frown, as if he thought of something. Boss. Sakaki, this kid. I want to tell you something, Eminem said at this time. Eminem also asked Nana before, can Sakaki recognize her now? But Nana said she had her own way to win Sakaki's trust. Sakaki seemed to see something, nodded and said, oh. Okay, Eminem felt that Sakaki's eyes were flashing with anger, as if he had guessed something. Of course, even so, Eminem is already prepared. If Nana doesn't come back later, he will tell Yumi and Miwako about the matter immediately. Huh? What's wrong? Eminem suddenly discovered that Zio AI was hiding behind his legs again, looking at Sakaki's back warily. The feeling he gave me just now was very dangerous, Zio AI said keenly. It's Sakaki after all. Stay away from this guy when you see him in the future. Eminem wasn't too surprised. When Sakaki showed anger and murderous intent just now, Eminem also felt it vaguely, not to mention the more sensitive Zio AI. And what Eminem was worried about didn't seem to happen. After Sakaki and Nana left, Nana came back safely not long after, but what Eminem and Nazi didn't know was that, just after she left Sakaki's room, Sakaki in the room suddenly turned into a woman's voice. As expected of the super queen, she must have doubted us just now. The voice coming out of Sakaki's mouth was clearly Sachi. Lance's voice on the side also became lazy at this time. Fortunately, you can also cross-dress, but when did you learn this kind of cross-dressing? It was Lambda's voice. Once upon a time, Lambda thought that he was the only one in Team Rocket who could do this costume. Now it seems that Saki is no worse than him in craftsmanship, and can also imitate various voice tones out of thin air. Lambda can also put on disguise makeup for others, but imitating other people's voice, movement habits, etc. cannot be learned in a day or two, as a diehard Sakaki. Lance appears together with Sakaki, which undoubtedly makes this Sakaki much more credible. And this is indeed Sakaki's room, but Sakaki was lured away by Chakra at this time. There are members of Team Rocket guarding outside, but the grassroots little boss guarding outside has already been captured. People with lofty ideals instigate rebellion. Sachi also heard that Lambda was testing him, but he just put it in Sakaki's face and said with a charming smile, a woman is a woman who has secrets, but if it's just Lance, it's still not safe. It's better to let Chakra go again. Lambda also decisively skipped the topic at this time, although he even doubted it now. Sachi is a real woman, but now is not the time to be serious with her. Well, Chakra cannot be faked by changes like ours. But then again, Eminem's real sister, Sachi, seemed to have thought of something at this time. However, Zio AI was hiding behind Eminem just now, and she was wearing a baseball cap, so she didn't notice anything, but she vaguely felt that her eyes on the little girl were a little inappropriate. The two of them left Sakaki's room at this time, and they were both very professional. They kept their hands on the door while talking, and restored everything in the room to their original positions. When they left, the little boss guarding the door, it's like I didn't see it. Because Eminem intervened at this time, they did not dare to silence Nazi, so they could only take one step in advance to trap Nazi, so that she would not go to the real Sakaki to report the situation. And just now, Bell Mode also took advantage of the opportunity to inquire about Nazi's recovery time. It will take at least 3 months for this super queen to return, which will not affect their plans. The other side, what did Sakaki say? Eminem asked quickly after seeing Nana coming back. Boss, Sakaki already knows. I was just waiting for those guys to take the bait, and then we can just pretend that nothing happened. Nazi's tone was obviously less solemn than before. Take the bait? Eminem frowned when he heard this, feeling something strange, and then asked doubtfully, are you sure Sakaki wants to fish here? Isn't it too dangerous? Of course, here does not refer to the port of Dead Leaves, but to the Santino. When they reached the sea, the people in this boat were alone and helpless. How could they take risks easily? Even if this old boy Sakaki is insensitive, at this time, he should always be concerned about the impact. Nazi heard Eminem's doubts and said disdainfully, "What do you know? Those people are always rushing to make big things happen. If you don't get a chance on the Santino, go directly to Deodeo Temple Mall, going to the Nado Fossil Museum. It's all the same. Instead of being on guard against unpredictable attacks, it's better to be patient first and catch them all in one fell swoop." It makes sense for Eminem to hear this. Even if Sakaki wants to catch those people now, he doesn't know where they are, and if he alerts the enemy, the other party may jump over the wall and attack other places indiscriminately. It is better to wait for them to come to him. Instead of guarding against thieves for thousands of days, it is better to finish the work in one battle. It's just that Eminem still feels that there seems to be something unsafe. But Nazi didn't talk to Eminem about the most important thing about cross-dressing. Even Eminem didn't know that the Nazi she met before was fake, and Eminem didn't know that the Nazi she met before was fake. Mew hadn't yet connected Sachi and Belma together, so naturally he couldn't think of anything point at this time. Nazi wanted to continue pretending to be a harmless child because of Sakaki's plan, so she continued to follow Eminem point. Just when Eminem was leading Nanda back to his cabin, he met a young man in the corridor. He looked to be about 12 or 13 years old. As he walked by, he looked at Nana and blinked. "Huh? Do you know him?" Eminem looked back at the little kid's back in confusion, wondering if he was from Team Rocket or a simple lolicon. "Yeah." Nazi just nodded without explaining much point at the same time. Nazi asked Eminem, "Do you have any other super type Pokémon?" "What's the matter?" Amu asked doubtfully. "If there is a Pokémon to help me meditate, I will recover faster." Although Nazi felt that no matter how fast she could not catch up with Sakaki's plan unless she had the help of a king level super Pokémon, but still looked forward to it a little bit. Nazi also emphasized, "Forget it if you don't have it. You can't store it in the golden gym. Don't borrow it from other people, otherwise you may be alerted. I don't have any now, but after I go to sea, I can help you find some." Amu said after thinking for a while. There are many gem starfish in the sea, which have the attributes of water plus superpower. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 399 Harvest Festival. Chakra, one of the 7 generals of Team Rocket. Genius programming expert, only 14 years old, is the youngest senior cadre in the history of Rocket Team. The previous record was that 16-year-old Nazi became a general as soon as he joined, and a year later became one of the top cadres. Nazi also thought about whether Sakaki was pretending, but not only were people from Team Rocket serving as guards, she did see boss Sakaki's supplies in the house, and even Lance was there. Therefore, Nazi was only slightly suspicious. The cross-dressing of Sachi and Lambda is different from Kid's illusion disguise. Although the body shape can be adjusted, there are always limits. Unless it is at some special angles and postures, it is impossible to look like a child. Chakra is still relatively small among teenagers of the same age, so he can't pretend to be someone by cross-dressing. Seeing Chakra giving her a look, Nazi just thought it was boss Sakaki and informed Chakra of the situation. At this time, her suspicion was completely given up. After all, the relationship between Chakra and Mazishi is not good, and it is impossible to participate in Mazishi's rebellion. Unfortunately, what Nazi doesn't know is that the Dark Organization has always been very concerned about programming talents, and Bellman has already instigated Chakra. As long as he finally helps Mazishi kill Sakaki, Chakra will go to the Dark Organization. Although he is not as ambitious as Mazishi or Lambda, but his desire for programming experts determines the price the Dark Organization gives him, which is completely different from that of Team Rocket. Especially 3 months ago, the Dark Organization suddenly became more heroic and even wanted to tailor a team for him. This made chakra captured without any surprise point at the same time. What Belmond and Mazishi did not expect was, although Natsu didn't lie when she saw Sakaki, it would indeed take 3 months for her injuries to recover to the point where she could barely take action. But that was without the assistance of powerful super type Pokémon. What's more, in addition to Natsu's own meditation, Eminem can also prepare potions to soothe mental backlash. It's a pity that Eminem doesn't have any formula for this. After all, it is for human consumption, and there are very few such medicines. If it were another person, Eminem wouldn't think of potions, but if it were Nana, Eminem feels that she is no worse than Pokémon. When communicating with Sakaki before, on the one hand, Natsu was not sure whether Eminem could find a suitable Pokémon. On the other hand, Natsu also wanted to give Sakaki and those bastards like Mazishi a surprise, so I didn't say much. It's difficult to find suitable Pokémon in the near sea. When we get to the far sea, I will help you find powerful wild gem starfish. Then I will observe your mental strength and maybe I can prepare a suitable medicine. Eminem promised Nana. Well, Natsu just nodded. Point on the one hand, it's because she's not used to saying thank you, and on the other hand, she doesn't know what Eminem is talking about. It's certain that there are powerful gem starfish in the deep sea, but what does it have to do with Eminem? Why do you say that? As long as you encounter wild jewel starfish, they will be obedient. There are not many gem starfish on the beach, but there are quite a few starfish. However, starfish not only do not have super attributes, but also have low levels and growth rates, which are not enough to be used as medicine for Natsu. The distribution of wild Pokémon on land is generally such that the closer to the main road, the harder it is to find high-level Pokémon. On the contrary, the more inaccessible areas, such as deep mountains and old forests, the more likely it is to find high-level Pokémon. Level Pokémon. It's not that Pokémon are all high level in places far away from the main roads, but the deeper you go in the mountains and forests, the greater the total number of Pokémon and the denser the distribution, so high level Pokémon can be born. In the wild state, the highest level a Pokémon can reach in an area is usually directly related to the density of Pokémon. It's all rolled out, without special reasons. Wild Pokémon will not grow as fast as Pokémon tamed and trained by humans. If the density of Pokémon in the surrounding environment is low, it may only be around 10 or 20 levels throughout a lifetime. In the ocean, naturally, the farther you go to the far ocean, the deep sea, the denser the wild Pokémon are, and naturally you can find Pokémon with higher levels. Starfish is a typical broad division type among sea Pokémon. Point from the beach to the deep sea for several kilometers. This is a living range of the starfish family and on land, unless there are special circumstances, or outside the alliance. In the real wild, the limit of wild Pokémon is generally around level 50. However, in the sea, because the density of Pokémon is higher, the rolling is even more severe. When the ability of God of the Sea was activated before, Eminem could discover level 100 wild ocean Pokémon almost every day, which is extremely difficult to find on land. And you must know that Eminem had not gone to the far sea before. By the way, actually, when I went to the Golden Gym this time, I also had a question I wanted to ask, but the female devil said it was a different style, so I don't know if she was trying to prevaricate me. Eminem then brought up the topic back to his own affairs. What's the problem? Nana said coldly. Eminem curled her lips when she heard this. This woman is so embarrassed when it comes to my affairs. It's useless for me to scold Natsu for you. Harvest. Sacrifice. I want to hold a harvest sacrifice. Do you have any clues? Eminem asked curiously. Sacrifice? Which divine beast are you praying for? Nazi frowned upon hearing this. Eminem didn't understand. How did she think of it? Maybe there really was a similar operation. Seeing Eminem's reaction, Nazi shook her head and said, forget it. You don't have to answer me. I don't know what you want to do specifically, but if it's a harvest, you might as well think about what harvest means. A good harvest means. Eminem was about to say, and then he also showed a look of thinking. After being reminded by Nana, Eminem really had some clues. The harvest is abundant, the plants are luxuriant, and the fruits are separated from the plants themselves. When considering, it is nothing more than those series Nazi added. Eminem also thought at this time, if the grass element is the earth's plunder of the sun, then the harvest, is this part of the power finally returning to the earth? After all, regardless of the harvester, the fruit will return to the earth. Or rather, the power of the ground system and water system, the process of supporting the grass system. The grass element absorbs the power of the fire element and then returns it. No, the process of transforming the earth. Seeing that Eminem was deep in thought, Nazi gave her one last reminder. You can read the legend of salvation in the Sinnoh region. After saying that, Nazi went to meditate again. Chapter 400 Artificial Harvest. Nina's words made Eminem think of a lot of things, most of which he didn't know what was right or wrong. But there is one thing that Eminem has figured out. After being reminded by Nazi, Eminem thought about the meaning of harvest. Before, he had always instinctively stood from the perspective of a human, thinking about this issue, and even thought about where to rent, whether Pokémon to ensure a good harvest, hosting the festival. But I forgot the most important thing. Harvest priest is the occupation of the mother path, and mother refers to earth, and mother earth from the perspective of the path of God. To complete the role of this profession, one needs to think from the perspective of the earth, and this earth is not the ground type of the Pokémon world, or the ground type is just a part of the earth. The earth represented by mother in the path of God refers to everything in the own environment. If understood in a slightly narrower sense, it means the inherent power and attributes of the mother star and planet. From this perspective, harvest is the plants supported by the earth. After absorbing external solar energy and nutrients from the environment, they condense into fruits, and these fruits are returned to the earth. This is the harvest of the earth. After all, in terms of pure energy storage, a planet without life is only heated by sunlight and then quickly dissipates heat to reach a balance. The storage efficiency of external energy is very low. This also goes back to what Eminem said to teacher Jumu. The essence of the grass system, the earth's plundering of the sun. After breeding life, the originally inorganic earth can gradually transform its form, no longer just heating and dissipating heat, but storing energy in a more complex way. Thinking back to Leocat, the land bound to Eminem, the so-called harvest does not really refer to the fruits produced there. In fact, it doesn't matter if there are no fruits in the narrow sense, only plants with seeds. They can all be returned to the earth anyway, for that piece of earth. A real harvest, the meaning is to bring vitality to the earth, that is, to the environment. I saw that at this time. Eminem was writing about painting, and in the diary, he also sorted out the next key points, mainly in two directions. One of them is naturally Chaopolis. The energy level of that land, or that environment, is very high. As long as it can shape life, even a small part of it will be a great harvest for Eminem. It's just that Eminem has no control over this, and can only passively wait, and this time may not necessarily be how long. The second is the main dimension, where Eminem is now. Under the reminder of Nana, Eminem felt that simulating a harvest of great significance should also be regarded as a great harvest. As for the legend of salvation in the Sinnoh region, that Nana reminded her to look up, Eminem also looked it up in the illustrated book, and even sent an email to Mr. Jumu to see if there was something more specific and true from Mr. Jumu. Data of it is said to be a legend, but the information on the internet is actually similar. In short, a long time ago, the specific time is disputed. Arceus blocked a meteorite for the Sinnoh region. Because the meteorite was not of high quality, there are also legends that it blocked other things. Anyway, after blocking it, Arceus merged the slates of the 5 element of ground, water, electric, grass, and dragon into the orb of life, and placed it in Sinnoh, so that the already completely destroyed Sinnoh revitalized. Generally speaking, it is similar to the theatrical version, except that there is no record in the legend that Arceus was plotted by humans, or that humans wanted to embezzle the orb of life, and judging from Arceus's status in the legend and his unconfirmed appearance records in recent years, Eminem doesn't think humans can do anything to this beast of a creation god. This legend mainly reminds Eminem about the composition of the orb of life. The ground type, water type, and grass type were all what Eminem had originally thought of, and the electrical type. As a trainer who studied under Dr. Jumu and had rich knowledge of the grass type, Eminem also quickly thought of the electrical type, or rather the grass type. Lightning is indeed an important part of the environment. Point on the one hand, the nitrogen fertilizer produced by lightning is an important link in the birth of life in the environment. On the other hand, lightning is also a product that the atmosphere produces after receiving the push of external energy. In this way, the ground system, water system, and electrical system are all part of the earth. The grass system is a method derived from the earth, and the dragon system is currently unknown. Eminem put a question mark on the dragon element, and then drew a circle on the water element and electrical element. The current harvest priest does not have the bonuses of water system and electricity system, and Amu is not sure whether he thought wrong, or whether he needs a higher level form to get the complete earth bonus. The nature of the dragon type is unknown. Among all the types, only the dragon type seems to be the same type of creature at first glance. For Eminem, the dragon system is something that can be inquired about. After all, the dragon ancestor sect is here. Leoka, what do you mean by dragon type? Since it is an attribute, dragon type is a kind of energy or a rule, right? Although it is also called dragon racially. But, what does it essentially represent? Eminem asked Leoka. Dragon is just a name. What Eminem wants to know now is its essence. Snoring. Leoka's snoring could be heard. Slim Shady. Lord Kaoparis, what does the great dragon system mean to the world? Eminem reorganized the language. The guardian of the world. Leoka answered unclearly. After waiting for a long time, after seeing no follow-up response, Eminem rolled his eyes and said, I know, Leoka. Looking at the dragon system in the diary, Eminem also drew a circle. Indeed, in some humans' analysis of the dragon system, they also believe that the dragon system means stability and reconciliation. A large part of the reason also comes from the legend of Heshang, probably because they think that the reason why there are dragon slates that seem out of place in Jade of Life is because dragons can be integrated into these, and the dipping sauce, the sesame oil, is about the same. Eminem also feels that dragon, regardless of the name, should essentially be related to deeper natural forces. It's just that creatures that master this power are called dragons. So, Eminem also began to sort out the things he could try in the main dimension. In short, it is based on these 5 attributes. Amu's thoughts were divergent, and he even thought that if Kyger and Groudon could be guided to mate, then this would definitely be stable. I just don't know if they are male or female, and I don't seem to have heard of little Kyger or little Groudon. In comparison, asking Arceus to borrow the Orb of Life doesn't seem so incredible. Nazi, who was meditating on the side, woke up because she felt something because of the spiritual communication between Eminem and Leoka just now. Eminem's diary is written for himself, so it usually only has some keywords, and Nazi used her mental power to look at what Eminem was writing. Waiting for Leoka's harvest. Guide Kyger and Groudon to mate. Ask Arceus to borrow the Orb of Life. Nazi. At the same time, Sinako and his family also began to board the ship, and the Centino was about to leave the Deadleaf port. The maritime exhibition of Dark Stars was about to begin. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.